there's talk of escalation, and then there's talk of ceasefire, you've got these rapid drops. So as you can see, it's a really volatile market. Now, supply shock is the core problem here. Obviously, the supply has been physically disrupted. The war has removed so far millions of barrels per day from supply, and around 400 million barrels, that's about 4 days of global supply, has already been impacted. Now, the shortages here are real. It's not just speculative. And some regions, as you mentioned, particularly in Asia, are already starting to experience fuel scarcity. Now, we are seeing early signs. We're seeing governments around the world reacting, governments encouraging citizens to drive less, energy rationing, reduced industrial use. What we're seeing here is already the fuel source shortages are leading to unrest. They're leading to dissent. You've got inflation will be pushing up the cost of fuel, transport and food. And what we're also running the risk of is what economists call stagflation. Now, that is high inflation plus slow growth. So if we just look at just briefly what it's going to look like for the outlook in the short term, price is likely to stay high and unstable. You're looking at between $100 and $150 a barrel, depending on escalation. In the medium term, if the conflict eases up a little, barrels could be looking at falling back to 70 to 80. But in the long term, if the disruption continues and it's sustained, you're looking at barrels going for north of $150.
And it's really interesting, Shane, because I've just been having a look at the oil price now. So WTI trading about $112 a barrel at the moment today. So that's quite interesting. So when we have a look at oil, people are estimating it could go between $150 to $200 a barrel. But of course, as Gemma says, all dependent on how long this conflict lasts for. But we were talking about market trends. What are we seeing really when it comes to Asian markets, when it also comes to the oil market and to the US markets?
Okay, yeah. So we mentioned earlier before about how the Asian markets are deeply dependent on the oil for importing, and it's not just deeply dependent; it's like 98%. So it's pretty much what happens in the oil market directly impacts their economy. And if you look at as you mentioned in your report. How Japan and South Korea specifically have fallen today, and since the war started, Japan is down sort of nearly 11% on its stock market, and South Korea is even more, about 18%. And I think that's only going to increase as the Straits stay closed, and that there's no sort of viable option happening at the moment. And I thought it was interesting. There was a Reuters report done just a few days ago where they looked at sort of about 13 different analysts and asked them for their predictions, and sort of as evidence to show that people are it's hard to nail down. The estimates ranged from everything all the way up to 190, but averaged at about 135. But I think, as you pointed out today, it's already up past 110. So I think even 135 is massively optimistic. And then when you put it into sort of that into context, we've already mentioned about the markets are going down, the Wall Street, Europe, as well. Sort of Morgan Stanley estimated that if it goes up to around 150 to 180, and I think the lower end 150 is now looking a lot more possible. They estimate that global equity valuations on listed companies would shrink by about 25%. And I think the Asian markets, as we just said before, are highly dependent on oil from the Gulf region. They're then likely to be the most impacted, and they're already doing, as we discussed earlier, lots of benefits on their energy markets to try and reduce it for customers. But a lot of the companies that are being impacted already are sort of in the chip industry, which the region is well known for, which will then have ramifications down the line in terms of everyone's AI and data center plans. So it all has a massive spillover effect, even though I always think it's quite interesting. We repeatedly said that the Straits of Hormuz are responsible for 20%. So you kind of think, where's the other 80%? But unfortunately, the world doesn't work that quickly where you can just ramp up production for other countries. And you mentioned OPEC in that regard as well, that there's a meeting coming from OPEC Plus, which includes Russia as well. And that's happening on Sunday. And Reuters had an interesting report out earlier saying that they're going to increase production. But then the question is, that's all well and good if you're going to produce more, but then if you can't get it out of the region quickly enough, then it doesn't really matter if you're going to produce more oil if it's just sitting there, not going to customers. But yeah, it's definitely going to impact sort of the US in terms of at the pumps, but it's Asia that is going to be critically important because they depend so much on getting the oil from this region.
And I think one thing that we can remember, and I'm sure Gemma would agree with this too, is a lot of people have been saying to me, and a lot of analysts have said, Donald Trump tries to calm the markets on a Monday. So he's waking up earlier, he's tweeting saying the war's nearly over. And that's almost because Donald Trump watches the stock markets. And also in the US, we're coming up to midterm elections, and people in America really watch how much they pay for gas at the pumps. And every president makes sure that that is low. And that's something Donald Trump campaigned on. He said, we'll have lower gas prices when I come in than under Joe Biden. And now people are seeing those gas prices at the pump at around $4, and that could be $5. And that could really lose Donald Trump a massive amount of votes. So it's something that he's also considering very strongly.
I think that's possibly the one thing that unites the US, isn't it? The cost of petrol. Absolutely, you know, in a divided nation, it's the one thing they can all come together for and agree upon.
Yeah, and it's absolutely true that they always say every US president drives past the petrol pumps and they know the price of it because it's something that's so vital when they're on the campaign trail. But thank you so much for your thoughts on that. Stay right there as we move on to another story now. And this story is about social media users in the UK are becoming less active on tech platforms due to the rise of video apps and fears that posts could actually come back to haunt them. Research by the communications watchdog Ofcom shows that more than 50% of surveyed people have replaced social media with AI tools such as ChatGPT. I found this absolutely fascinating when I had a look at the survey, and one of the reasons I quite liked it was because I must admit, I get those memories up on my Facebook, and I'm sure Gemma and Shane do too, because, you know, when Facebook first came out, yes, I wasn't in a professional job, let's put it that way. And sometimes I'm just like, oh my gosh, what was I thinking? 15 years ago? So I would wish I hadn't posted what I did on Facebook all that time ago. But Shane, tell us more about the social media user trend and what the watchdog, of course, which is Ofcom, has spotted against adult Brits.
Yeah, so as you said, this is Ofcom. So what they've said is that just under half, like 49%, so it's roughly half, of now people post and share and comment on sort of the major social media channels, which is a big drop from 61%, which was just in 2024, which is, to me, just feels like around the corner. And then the amount of people who are posting on websites has also fallen from 70% down to 56%, and they're putting it down to sort of the TikTok generation and reels and things. And I kind of thought about where I sort of stand on this, and I do agree with it. I do sort of scroll. I'm not on TikTok, I have to say. I'm far too old for that. But the reels, the amount of times you think I'll just have a look at a few of them on Facebook, and then you end up down a rabbit hole, and an hour or two has gone by, and then your algorithm is ruined. And mine at the moment is just feeding me everything seems to do with getting fitter, which, you know, I don't know what that's trying to tell me. I don't really want to know. But also what I think, when you look at the data, and I remember back in college, I did sort of research methods, and I think you have to kind of look at the research, because Ofcom also did some other studies, and what they found is that use of WhatsApp groups has gone up quite a lot, like about 10% among adults. So I think people are not posting on, say, Facebook, but how many WhatsApp groups are we in? Probably amongst the three of us. I don't think we're in one together, which is quite tragic. It's quite sad. But I've got like family ones, so I don't personally post as much on Facebook. I still do because I'm an expat and you want your family to sort of having the amazing life that you have over here. But, you know, you put everything into various friend groups, family groups. So I think people are not posting less. They're just posting more selectively into, smaller groups. And I think, am I barking up a wrong tree, or what do you think on that?
And do you know what I find absolutely fascinating is also, you mentioned WhatsApp there, Gemma. I don't know about you, but I don't think of WhatsApp as social media as I did of Facebook or as I did of Instagram or Twitter or X, or, you know, for me it's different, but it's so true. I think I put my life on WhatsApp. Everything's on there. That's how everyone communicates now. So how much of an impact does social media use have on our future, and how has it haunted people, especially users, if they go for a job or even if they're a celebrity? I mean, it's not always a good look, is it?
No, do you know what? I agree. I don't see WhatsApp as social media, but I'm very excited to set up our WhatsApp chat after the show ends, and we'll see what comes up.
Gemma,
there.
I always exit groups. I always exit groups. Apparently it's really rude, but I don't care.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you can just mute, can't you? You can just mute, put it on mute forever. So Shane and I will be busy chatting.
Yes.
And you'll just have muted us.
Can I tell you what I do? I put it on mute and in archive.
Right, Shane, we'll just set up a group between the two of us and we won't include Leigh Ann in it, I don't think.
No, I'll love it.
So yes, there's obviously, it's well documented that social media posts have come back to haunt celebrities, politicians. But social media in itself has been a game changer in so many different aspects of our life, from politics to psychology. You know, we talk about reduced attention spans. We talk about the dopamine hit that people get from getting likes and comments and validation from strangers online. There's the long-term implications. We've talked about the effect that it's had on the spread of misinformation and fake news. You know, you're seeing a lot of cross-pollination across platforms where, you know, LinkedIn, people share very deep and personal things on that. And one would think that you would save something like that for Instagram. So it's all kind of like one big mass where people are no longer just sharing business things on LinkedIn and lovely photos of their lunch on Instagram. It's really kind of crossing over. Now, you're right, careers have been destroyed on social media when old posts have come back to haunt them. And I've always wondered, I think there's a spot in the market here for a company to clear up famous people's social media. You know, if you're embarking on a career in the public eye, we will go in and we will investigate your social media and get rid of any problematic tweets or posts for you. So, you know, we have seen there in the US, famously, there was a politician called Anthony Weiner. He had posted explicit images on, as it was then, Twitter. And that caused his downfall. It led to his resignation from Congress. You've got the comedian and actress Roseanne Barr. Some of her tweets were found offensive tweets, and it led to the cancellation of the reboot of her show. But then you've got celebrities who tweet in real time. You know, I think about Kanye West here. It wasn't that we discovered, you know, old messages from him. It was that he was doing it, you know, as and when. So yeah, it's unless you are very aware of what you're saying. You know, you've got the likes of people like Leonardo DiCaprio. They never post. Their social media is strictly business and charitable endeavors. And that's probably a lesson for a lot of celebrities, I think.
Yes, I think. And what you also said, I think that right now we have more knowledge on social media, because when Facebook probably first came out when we were much younger, we didn't realize how long that would last for. We didn't know it was going to be forever. And now I think that people are really thinking about policing themselves when it comes to social media, because we now know that that footprint will be there forever. Even if you try to delete it, it doesn't actually delete, it just suspends. So it's that terrifying thing that as we get older and we look back, we think, wow, no one told us that what we would say 20 years ago would still be there. Because it wasn't like that on a pen and paper.
But also, I think people shouldn't, unless you say something absolutely sexist, horrendous, homophobic, or absolutely awful, then yeah, that sort of shows more of an innate character flaw, and you should be pulled up on that. But I do think this sort of cancel culture, I don't really agree with that. And I think, Leigh Ann, you probably agree with me on this one, that, you know, if you said something 20 years ago, you know, people evolve. And, you know, I did just what Gemma said when I went for a job for a US magazine once, and I went through my 20 years of social media, and I thought, oh my God, I thought I was absolutely hilarious in my 30s. And now if you take it out of context, it could be sort of seen as potentially offensive to some people. It wasn't particularly bad to get cancelled, but I think people do evolve, and sometimes stuff is taken out of context. And, you know, people should be allowed to apologise and just move on. And they should be based on their merit, not something they maybe said stupidly as a younger, less enlightened person.
I wonder if Donald Trump will monitor his Truth Social. But anyway, we're going to move on now. And we're going to move on to that time of the show where Gemma and Shane have chosen two of their quirkiest stories of the day. But actually, before we go to that, we're going to bring you some breaking news that has been reported from Reuters. Iran's Revolutionary Guards say they have targeted Oracle's data center in Dubai. I actually want to just pick up on that with Shane very quickly. You mentioned that, Shane, that we did know Iran was saying it would target US assets in the region. So we're hearing now the Oracle center in Dubai has been targeted.
Yeah, it is. It's one of, you know, there was a lot of talk about that in Dubai because, you know, I've got friends and colleagues who live near some of the 18 tech companies, and like you said, Oracle has been targeted, which, you know, it's tragic because, you know, these are people we know and friends, but it just shows that Iran, you know, is being serious in its threats, and these are going to continue to happen. And that's why I don't think that the ceasefire is likely to happen. And they've also said that they're going to target, you know, aluminium and steel, and, you know, they also listed specific bridges. So all of this now sounds more credible. So, but it just makes, you know, Donald Trump's speech sort of even more uncredible because he hasn't really laid out what the plan is. And, you know, we don't really expect him to. You know, he's in the middle of a war, so you're not going to say, this is what I'm going to do in the middle of a warfare. But yeah, that is sort of sad news about the Oracle and the escalation of it into our literal backyard.
So we're going to do a quick gear change there. We're going to talk about these quirky stories. Gemma, we're going to go to yours first. And what's the connection between food and a person's personality?
So this is what your favourite pasta shape says about you. Now, this comes courtesy of a UK psychologist called Phil McLeod, who claims your choice of pasta reveals much more about you than you think. So, Leigh Ann and Shane, can you just quickly tell me your favourite pasta shape?
Penne, I think. Plain old penne.
Shane?
I don't know what these mean because I haven't read your story, because I always try to be surprised, but I don't even know how to pronounce it, but fusilli is the one I always get on delivery.
Fusilli. Right, yeah. Now, interesting, and I don't know what this says about both of you, but neither penne or fusilli were actually included in this, so you have both yourself.
Or macaroni, I quite like. Macaroni. Is macaroni on there? Macaroni would be my second.
Not there either. We have spaghetti, we have ravioli, rigatoni, lasagna, farfalle. Now, my favourite is spaghetti, and I'll tell you what that says about me, apparently. It says I like things that are simple and familiar, and I am reliable. Yeah, I'll go with that. Easygoing, and I don't overcomplicate life. I am humble and down to earth. I'm very humble. So, yeah, it's just, it's a very interesting, he's come up with the 12 very popular pastas and what it says about you. So I'm going to have to find out now what penne and farfalle says about someone.
I'm so sorry, we didn't have time for Shane's and finally, as we are rapidly running out of time and we need to wrap up the show. Just one final thought for Shane and I. I like penne, you like fusilli. Maybe it's because it's the cheapest pasta on the shelf, so you wanted to go with people who eat the more classy ravioli. But thanks to our guest today, correspondent and columnist Gemma White and Shane McGinley, news editor at the Arabian Gulf Business Insight. That's all from us on W News Extra. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Of course, follow us on X. G&T, that's coming up next. Goodbye and thank you.
And we're going to take care of our people first.
For in-depth analysis and all the latest developments across the globe, make sure you join us every weekday.
President Trump is trying to negotiate a ceasefire.
With so much happening, so much information, and so much noise.
International law will have no part in his administration.
It can be hard to keep track.
Tariffs will just fuel inflation.
We're going to fight these tariffs.
But you can count on us to tell you what you need to know.
We stand by your side.
Join me, Tom Burges Watson, for Global News Today, right here on Al Arabiya News. Hello and welcome to Global News Today, bringing you exclusive interviews with leading experts every weekday here on Arabiya English. Broadcasting from Riyadh, I'm Tom Burges Watson. Coming up on the programme today, in an address to the nation, President Trump says the US is nearing victory in Iran and warns of extremely hard strikes for weeks, even threatening to bomb the country into the Stone Ages. Well, Iran fires back at President Trump's speech, vowing what it calls crushing attacks against the US and Israel. Meanwhile, the US Embassy in Baghdad is warning pro-Iran groups could strike the city within days. We'll be asking the former Iraqi foreign minister if Iraq can avoid being pulled deeper into the conflict. And exactly 1 month to the day since Lebanon was dragged into the war by Hezbollah, the death toll there is nearing 1,300. In a moment, we'll be hearing about the dangers facing healthcare workers and first responders in this conflict. Hello and welcome to the programme. We begin with analysis of last night's primetime address by the US President Donald Trump. Well, that address came as the US-Israeli war in Iran, which has since brought in other countries, approached the end of its fifth week. Well, in his address, the president said that the US had destroyed Iran's Navy and Air Force and crippled its ballistic missile and nuclear programs. Well, according to opinion polls, significant numbers of Americans disapprove of the conflict. And for anyone hoping the president would announce an imminent end to the war, their hopes were dashed. Here's a clip of what President Trump said about the timeframe.
Thanks to the progress we've made, I can say tonight that we are on track to complete all of America's military objectives shortly, very shortly. We're going to hit them extremely hard over the next 2 to 3 weeks. We're going to bring them back to the Stone Ages where they belong. In the meantime, discussions are ongoing. Regime change was not our goal. We never said regime change, but regime change has occurred because of all of their original leaders' death. They're all dead.
We can speak now to Mike Dubke, who is a former White House communications director who served under President Trump. He joins us now from Washington. Thank you so much for joining us, Mike. Always a pleasure having you on the program. According to the polls, I don't know if you believe them or not, a significant number of Americans are highly disapproving of this conflict. And I'm wondering whether you think last night's address by President Trump will have changed that.
Well, first of all, I do believe the polls. I think that they are, we've had enough of them that I think if we have a consensus that Americans are a bit skeptical of the actions in and surrounding Iran. I don't think that the president's speech last night really changed much. What it seemed like to me was more of a, my underlings are not explaining this well enough. I'm going to go out there and do a better job explaining it. Unfortunately, last night's speech was really the speech the president should have given 5 weeks ago when the conflict started, in explaining to the American people why we were there. So some of the expectations that were set for that speech, I don't think were met, which was a wind down of operations or a pathway forward to ending hostilities. And I think you see in the global markets today, and the cost of oil, for example, shooting up after the speech. I think you see that it didn't land the way I think the president wanted it to.
Right, so you're painting a picture here of a speech that came about 5 weeks late, and one that perhaps raised more questions than it answered. Is that roughly what you're saying?
That's roughly what I'm saying. I think again, and we see this all the time when poll numbers are going one direction, and an individual feels like he's not getting his message across. He wants to deliver that in person, and I think that's where the president was last night.
Yeah, I mean, what President Trump said last night, one of the things that struck me was he said, quote, "In my announcement of Operation Epic Fury, our objectives were very simple and clear." That's what he said. And he was presumably referring to that speech he put out on Truth Social just on the eve of the start of the conflict. But I mean, a lot of people would say, no, they weren't simple and no, they weren't clear. And in fact, they'd go further and say that the objectives seem to sort of change with every passing day.
Well, I will say I think that, and Secretary Rubio was very articulate on this point as well, the degradation of Iran's offensive operations, whether that be the Navy, Air Force, their ability to make weapons of mass destruction that could harm its neighbors. I think those military objectives at the very beginning, and also to to answer for 47 years of terror that this current regime in Iran has been active in. I think those objectives were met, and probably were met in the first 7 days of the conflict. I think where we've gotten a little off track is from the first week on through week 5, what has been our goal? And that's what needs some level of clarification. But the military aspect of this, I think, has been very successful and has been very clear.
Yeah, I mean, some of America's allies are scratching their heads. They don't really know what's going on, because 1 minute President Trump says on Truth Social, like he did yesterday, the talks are going really well. He talks about this new leadership in Tehran that he says is really intelligent and which is asking for a ceasefire. And then a couple of hours later, he's pledging an escalation of attacks on Iran. And President Macron of France, who perhaps has most to be aggrieved about with regards to last night's address, says this: "Let's be serious and not say one day the opposite of what we said the day before." I mean, doesn't that explain why America's allies have perhaps not been particularly enthusiastic about jumping in and helping here? Because they don't really understand what's going on.
Well, I think it's a combination of they are not sure what the end goal is. And what a lot of individuals wanted the president to outline last night was what steps need to be taken, not a timeline, not a, end date, not any information that might put our military men and women in danger, but just a kind of a broad level set outcome that will end the hostilities or end the offensive action from the Americans' point of view. And to our allies in NATO, I think they were hoping for that and didn't get it. In terms of the Strait of Hormuz and the energy that is not passing through that strait at the moment that benefits, Korea, Japan, and our European allies, that is something that they are feeling that much more acutely than America is. We've got some rising gas prices, but nothing like the shortages that our other allies are experiencing. And I'm sure they're very frustrated because they weren't contacted prior to the engagement. And that, at the end of the day, I think we have to come back to that sometimes it is important to really get everyone on the same page, or at least tell them what you're about to do and not surprise the world.
Right. I think that's a big part of it, isn't it? That people didn't feel consulted at the get-go, and therefore they didn't feel enthusiastic about stepping in. I'm just wondering how this is all playing out domestically, Mike. And you mentioned there petrol prices are up significantly, or gasoline prices, as you call them over there, above the $4 a gallon mark right now. And clearly that's causing economic pain to US households. How is that playing out? And are opposition politicians managing to make mileage out of that?
Well, as a Republican, I think the one thing that has been constant is that the Democrats haven't been able to take advantage of this domestically. But for the poor, truck driver, worker that had prices going up at the grocery store, had other electricity prices going up for other reasons, the one thing this economy in the United States had going for it was low petrol prices. And that unfortunately over the last 5 weeks has gone up significantly. As you said, it's gone up over $1 a gallon here. That is a real pinch for the American consumer. That is, if that's just a short-term problem, well, I think the president and the Republican Party can recover from that. If it lasts much longer, we do have our midterm elections coming up in November, and that will probably be incredibly detrimental to the success of the president maintaining majorities in the House and the United States Senate. People vote with their pocketbooks, and it's taking a pinch right now.
Yeah, I mean, even before this conflict, I mean, it did look a lot like President Trump was going to face a drubbing in the midterms, and we are, 7-8 months away from those elections. I mean, is President Trump going to be able to somehow turn this around, spin this conflict and its outcome to his advantage and narrow the gap?
Well, I think, there's a lot of things in politics. 7-8 months is an eternity, number one. Secondly, a lot of politics is about momentum. It's like a soccer game. At some point it may be down, but if you can get that one goal, the second goal, whatever it may be, and you carry your team with momentum into November, I mean, there's still an opportunity for that, but time is ticking away and running out. And part of what will get us at least to the stage of having some level of momentum is for some of this chaos to settle down. And I think we need to end, or at least have a cessation of hostilities to get anywhere near that point.
Right. I think 13 US soldiers have lost their lives since Operation Epic Fury began. And I'm wondering whether you think there is a threshold point beyond which US public patience and support, if there is much support for this conflict, will really run out if casualty numbers rise significantly. What would you say that threshold is?
Yeah, I would hate to put a number to it because any loss of life is devastating. But I would say that it probably needs to be a significant number higher than the loss of life that we've experienced so far. It's been, frankly, miraculous that and I hate to say only 13 lives have been lost, but it is, I think it's a testament to the professionalism of the U.S. military. But to answer your question, that number would have to be significantly higher, I would think.
Okay. You mentioned just a moment ago that the Democrats hadn't really made a huge amount of mileage out of this. They, I'm sort of getting the sense from you that you think their comms are in disarray themselves. But, what about within the ranks of the political right there in America? I mean, we do hear quite a lot from Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's been speaking again, saying that she's angry about how US tax dollars are being spent. She's also talking about civilians being put in harm's way without any kind of accountability. And I wonder how many voices there are like hers in the ranks of the traditional Trump support base.
Right. Well, we started this conversation talking about polling, and one of the things that I think you're seeing when you break down and look at crosstabs of the polling is that Republicans, especially those that identify themselves as supporters of the president, strong supporters, MAGA Republicans, whatever you want to call them, they are still in significant numbers with the president, but those numbers are starting to slip. And with Republicans generically, those numbers are probably down 8, 9, 10 points. If those numbers continue to slip, I think you're going to see a little bit more of a reckoning from his base, his supporters. But those numbers haven't moved to the point where I think he has to be concerned. I think he needs to watch them, but they haven't moved significantly. So Marjorie Taylor Greene is a bit of an outlier for Republicans right now. But, maybe she's the canary in the coal mine. We just have to keep watching.
Okay. I mean, you were, of course, the White House comms director under President Trump during his first term. And I'd like to ask you whether you'd have advised President Trump to, make some quite significant modifications to that address he gave last night, notably on the issue of singling out the marital relationship of an allied, head of state. I'm talking about President Macron here. And, using that platform to make a mockery of an ally and his wife has upset France. The French are saying, this is really not a moment for laughing and mocking other people. I mean, would you have told President Trump perhaps not to make comments like that?
Well, first of all, I think, again, as I said earlier, I think the speech that the president gave last night is really the speech, maybe minus the mockery of France, that he should have given 5 weeks ago to explain what some of the goals are and what the end game is here. I have learned from working with the president that there are a lot of things that I wish maybe he didn't say or didn't shine the spotlight on or put into a public address. That's probably one of them. But, part of the president's allure to his supporters and to many around the world, frankly, is his ability to speak frankly and clearly. And while it's not diplomatic language, it is something that is given him an aura and a following because he's a politician that says what's on his mind rather than calculated words. So it's a fine line. No comms professional wants the person they're working for to do that, but it has worked for the president in the past, and I'm sure that's why he did not have any hesitation of doing it in the speech last night.
Okay, Meg, just lastly, let's look at where we are right now. Iran seems to have the Strait of Hormuz under its control. Oil prices are up. Inflation is looking like it's going to go through the roof in most parts of the world. Is America winning here?
I think time will tell. It's like most things in history. Time will tell if America is winning. As I said earlier, I think if we had done what we had done and had removed ourselves from this conflict about a week or 10 days into the hostilities, we'd be in a much different place. If the end goal here is regime change or a change at least in the tacit aggression of Iranian leadership, we need to leave enough of a country for the other 92 million Iranians to rise up and take control of their country. And the more that we pound it, I think it might be less likely for that to happen, because when you are pounded, you rally around your leaders, whether you love them or hate them. And we're borderline there. But again, I'm a communications person, not a professional diplomat. So take that for what it's worth in my analysis.
Okay, we really appreciate your analysis, and we appreciate you taking the time to speak to us. Mike Dubke, the former White House communications director under President Trump. Thank you very much indeed for your time, sir.
Thank you.
Well, we can speak now to Matt Terrell, who is a former chief of staff for Marco Rubio's 2016 presidential campaign. He is now the managing partner of Firehouse Strategies and joins us now from D.C. Matt, always a pleasure talking to you. We're continuing here to debrief President Trump's address to the nation last night, and U.S. stocks opened sharply lower today. Oil prices are up. Polls still seem to show that a significant number of Americans disapprove of this conflict. Do you think that President Trump's address last night will have had the effect of helping Americans to at least understand the rationale for the conflict?
Well, I think he hit the right tones in last night's speech. I mean, look, obviously the main constituency that he needed to address last night was the American people. And the truth is, many Americans are busy with their day-to-day lives. They're not paying a lot of attention, many of them, to this conflict. They're not watching it, frankly, like you and I are, Tom, with the day-to-day coverage. They're busy planning for spring break or being on spring break with their family. But they are seeing those gas prices go up. But the truth is, I think President Trump hit the nail on the head. This is going to be temporary pain for long-term gain. And I think many Americans nationwide recognize that they're willing to take a little bit of pain at the pump right now in order to ensure that we have a secure world, that we have an Iran that does not have the ability to have a nuclear weapon, that we have an Iran that ultimately will not have a regime that wants to destroy America. That is something that I think Americans nationwide recognize. And I think that you're going to see these gas prices go down over the next few weeks. I believe those prices will come down. Obviously, what happens with the Strait of Hormuz matters, and that's going to be key to watch.
But doesn't President Trump have a bit of serious explaining to do here, not least to his support base, because he campaigned on this platform of no more wars, bringing down inflation, talking about kitchen table issues, notably the cost of living. And now you're talking about Americans having to go on a spring break that's going to be a much more expensive spring break than it would have been had petrol prices not been at $4 a gallon or more. I mean, hasn't he let them down?
Well, President Trump never, in my view at least, promised that there wouldn't be any new wars, just be no new forever wars. And so I don't think that this is something that President Trump views, as we saw in last night's address, as a long-term engagement in Iran. I think just like he did in Venezuela and just like he's been doing in Iran, having this be a targeted approach, targeted strikes, that's the key here. And it's not putting the U.S. in a situation here that's going to be a multi-year conflict or a multi-year war. So that in itself is going to have a huge impact, frankly, on what happens here in terms of the economy as it relates to gas prices. But look, I think President Trump has a strong track record right now when it comes to getting these gas prices lower. I mean, look, under President Biden, you had gas prices north of $5 per gallon. We're seeing those lower today under President Trump. But, the truth is American people do want to see those prices come down. They want to see the stock market strong. I think you are going to see movement there. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time here, frankly. But look, we are in an election cycle. What matters most to Americans right now with these upcoming midterm elections, no question, will be prices, such as at the pump. It's important for those prices to come down. I think they will. That's going to matter politically, of course, for President Trump and for Republicans heading into November of this year.
I mean, Matt, here we are almost at the end of week 5 of this conflict. And there's now talk about a ground invasion, troops being deployed to the region that I'm speaking to you from. I mean, is there really an end in sight?
Oh, I think there is. I think President Trump last night really narrowed down what's important here, and that is, how does this conflict end? And look, I really think it comes down to two different paths. Either the path of the United States and Iran coming to the table here, and Iran giving up the 60% enrichment, Iran not moving forward with wanting to pursue a nuclear weapon, and Iran working with President Trump here, the regime working with President Trump to get this conflict to come to an end. And as President Trump has alluded, if they don't take that course, the second path will be full throttle ahead in terms of military force. And you're seeing right now the U.S. military forces, along with Israeli forces, really decimating this regime. I mean, this has really been an effective military campaign. We're seeing high-level activity. We're seeing over 12,000 effective strikes, if you will, with respect to taking out the regime's capabilities, whether it's from the sea to the air. This has really been decimating the regime. So, look, it's going to be up to the regime in the end. Which path do they want to take? Do they want to continue to fight, or do they want to negotiate towards an end of this? I think in large part their destiny is going to be determined on what they do here for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I mean, some might argue that which direction the war takes is largely in Iran's hands, given that they seem to have this tactic of wanting to involve as many countries as possible. I mean, there is a risk, isn't there, that this war is going to spread further than it's already reached up until this point, and therefore last longer than anyone would hope it would.
Well, I happen to think this would have been lasted as long as it is if you had NATO countries and allies step in and support the effort here. That's obviously something that's going to be addressed here down the road. I think after this conflict ends, expect President Trump and his administration to address what's taking shape here with respect to NATO. But putting that aside, to the core of your question, look, this has not been a year-over-year war. If you look at past wars and past military conflicts the U.S. has been in, this doesn't even come close in terms of the timeline. We're talking about a few weeks here that this engagement, this conflict has been taking place. So, look, the truth is a little bit of patience needs to take place here. Obviously, it's important to get this war to come to an end, but to end in a way that ensures that the mission is accomplished. And right now, I think the U.S. is accomplishing the mission of decimating this regime and ensuring this regime does not have a nuclear capability. I think what President Trump has done well here is make clear to the American people why we're in this war in the first place. This was not a war of choice, it's a war of necessity, particularly in the eyes of this administration. When it comes to being a commander-in-chief, you need to be clear to the American people why you're in a military conflict and what the objective is. And I do think the administration has done an effective job of positioning that. And I think President Trump did an effective job of hitting on those points in last night's address as well.
Matt, I know you used to work for Marco Rubio, and you sound like you're singing from the same song sheet as him. He's also saying that the US is going to have to re-examine its relationship with NATO once this war is over. But, I mean, I think a lot of NATO allies are quite confused at the moment because, first of all, they weren't informed of plans to attack Iran. And you'd expect, if you want the involvement of a country and the support of that country, to at least tell them that a military operation was imminent. The other thing that is very fresh in their minds, given that we're only just into April, is at the start of this year, President Trump was threatening to attack a NATO ally, i.e., well, seize Greenland, which is part of Denmark, and in turn trigger Article 5 against itself. I mean, some might say President Trump is the biggest threat to NATO of anyone. How would you answer that?
Well, I think it's a threat to NATO. I think what he is saying here, and I think he's been consistent on this, and that is that he feels as though that NATO needs to do their part when it comes to defense. That's why he's encouraged these countries for years, NATO allies for years, to increase their defense spending. We've seen some countries do that. Poland, for example, has been a country that has increased defense spending. But look, you know, on the flip side of this, I think just narrowing in on this conflict, this war in Iran, you know, it's one thing for countries to say, you know what, we're not going to support it. We're not going to use or move in our own military assets to support the U.S. in this. Okay, that's one thing. It's another thing to try and obstruct the United States from doing what they need to do in terms of moving military assets into the necessary places as it relates to attacking this regime. Take, for example, Spain, not allowing the U.S. military to use airspace. You know, Italy, you know, not allowing the U.S. to use a military base. You saw the U.K. Kind of fence it, if you will, with respect to the use of Diego Garcia. So, look, it's about having that alliance at the end of the day that matters. And I do think this administration, I think Americans nationwide, many of them, say, you know what, the U.S. is the biggest funder of NATO, and what are we getting out of it? In a moment where we needed NATO's support, where is NATO? They seem to be nowhere to be found. I think you're going to see some movement here. My understanding is that there's going to be a discussion here soon between the Secretary General, NATO Secretary General, and President Trump. We'll see what happens with that discussion. We'll see what movement takes place here, but expect President Trump to address this soon, I think, and whether that's, you know, making a decision about what kind of troops are around the world or where troops are in terms of NATO countries. We'll see what takes shape here.
Sure. I mean, I think NATO allies need to sit down and decide what NATO is, because France is saying, for example, and they're not the only ones saying this, that NATO wasn't created for operations such as an operation in the Strait of Hormuz. It was created for the security of the Euro-Atlantic region of the world, not for events in, you know, the Strait of Hormuz. I mean, there is a bit of a difference of opinion about what this alliance was created for, isn't there?
Well, I think ultimately with this situation as it relates to Iran, the bigger element of this is that European countries, NATO countries, really are the ones who face a very large threat, in some cases a bigger threat than the United States. I mean, look, we saw what Iran did in terms of lying about their capabilities, of how far they could launch missiles. We saw that when they launched missiles against Diego Garcia. You know, Iran having the capability to launch missiles that could reach places like Paris and London. That's a real threat. And so, you know, in addition to that, you talk about the Strait of Hormuz, you know, the United States does not get nearly anything out of that. I think it's around, 2% of the oil coming out of the Strait going to the U.S. It's Asia, it's European countries that really benefit from the flow of energy and oil out of the Strait, if you will. So this comes down to, it's not just the U.S. that's being impacted by the threat of Iran. It's European countries. It's Asia, not just from a military threat by Iran or the threat of a nuclear capability by Iran, but economically as well, as we're seeing in the Straits. So, look, it comes down to countries having to step up to help support this effort. I think President Trump was hoping to see that, of course, in terms of NATO countries doing that. We haven't seen that really. We'll see what takes shape here going forward with NATO, though. It's going to be quite interesting to watch.
Okay, just let's turn the conversation back to how this is playing out domestically in the United States for a moment, Matt. I just wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously the midterms on everybody's minds, and they're not that long in the future. I mean, campaigning will probably start in 4 or 5 months from now. And I'm just wondering whether you think President Trump can end this war, spin its outcome in such a way that it works ultimately to his advantage. Do you think that's a scenario you can envisage?
Well, look, a week is a lifetime in politics. We have many weeks to go between now and these upcoming midterm elections. But to your point in question, it's going to come down to how this ends. And, as of right now, we are seeing the U.S. have great success as it relates to dismantling and destroying the Iranian regime. But it's bringing this in for a landing, and that's what President Trump is trying to do. But there's that side of it, then, of course, the economic side. And as long as gas prices are coming down, which I believe that they will, and I think President Trump is confident that will happen, and you're seeing prices in general come down. You're seeing that the economy is strong. You're seeing the stock market up. We've seen great growth in the stock market under President Trump's second term here. We also saw that, of course, under his first term. Those are going to be the things that matter. It really is, at the end of the day, the domestic issues that Americans care about in midterm elections. It's not that they don't care about foreign policy, they do. But I think that the storyline is this, that President Trump was able to take out a threat in Iran that was threatening the United States, particularly with their nuclear capabilities. If it's that the economy is doing better and stronger and gas prices are down going into those final weeks and months, if you will, into the midterm elections, that's going to be obviously a better narrative for Republicans, for the White House. I actually think that's going to occur. I'm very optimistic about how this war will end in terms of making the world safer, the U.S. more secure. I'm confident gas prices will come down. But ultimately, you can't be doing things as a president or making decisions based on politics. You got to do it based on good policy. And I do think what President Trump has done here is good policy. That's been the right course, and that's something I think that President Trump should get a lot of credit for.
Okay, and just to wrap up our conversation, Matt, I mean, 2 to 3 weeks, that's what President Trump said last night was his sort of current time frame where he saw things heading, the sort of duration this war has to run. Would you concur with that, looking at all the signs?
Yeah, I think if you look at this holistically, I think President Trump is right in terms of what the timeline will be here. I mean, look, he knows better than anybody. He is the commander in chief. He's the individual who has the best intelligence, the best understanding of what's taking place here on the ground, in the air, at sea, with respect to what's taking place in Iran. I think we need to trust that. On top of that, you are seeing momentum. You've seen consistently, week over week here, the U.S. have amazing military force deployed here and at display. So I think given that track record, absolutely this can come in for a landing here over the next few weeks and be a victory. I think already it's been a big victory in terms of what the U.S. has done along with Israeli forces. But again, it's going to be up to the regime also to figure out what the right path is. And I believe that path needs to be stepping down, dismantling their nuclear capabilities, enrichment capabilities, and ensuring that they come to the table here to get this to come to an end as well. I think that's the path that they should take. We'll see what path they do take. In the end, though, I think President Trump has a plan forward here. I think he hit the nail on the head last night with the key points he made in the address. And I think that's something Americans nationwide are going to rally around.
Okay. We really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Matt Terrell, thank you very much indeed.
Thanks, Tom.
Now, the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad is warning that groups aligned with Iran could be planning to carry out attacks in central Baghdad during the next day or two. Well, the diplomatic mission has urged American nationals to leave the country immediately. Well, that warning comes amidst growing concerns that groups aligned to Iran, some of which are formally integrated into the Iraqi security forces, could drag Iraq further into this conflict with the U.S. and Israel. We're joined now by Hoshia Zebari, who is the former Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq and the former Foreign Minister of the country. He joins us from Erbil. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak to us once again. Always a pleasure having you on the programme. Now, I'd like to start by talking about where you are right now.
Most welcome, Tom.
Thank you. You're in Iraq's semi-autonomous region of Kurdistan. And your region has not been spared the violence of this broadening conflict. I gather there have been drone attacks on Erbil and Duhok during the course of the last day. Schools and universities have been suspended there for in-person tuition. Why has the Kurdistan region been targeted like this?
Well, we are at the thick of this conflict, actually. I think Iraqi Kurdistan has had its share of Iranian or Iranian-supported militias, share of ballistic missiles and drones. According to the latest figures released today, actually the region have been subjected to over 500 attacks since the war started. And these are not only aimed at American bases or American facilities like the consulates in Erbil, but also civilian targets, oil fields, actually civilian infrastructure, local Peshmerga forces bases, our leader houses, residents in a number of cases. So it has been ongoing, and although we are not party to this conflict whatsoever, but honestly they are taking some kind of their revenge. I don't know for what, but this is unwarranted attacks, as is the case with the attacks on Saudi Arabia, on Kuwait, on the UAE, Qatar and Bahrain. This seems to be part of their strategy to escalate or to broaden the conflict, to engage and involve as many other countries in this conflict. That's the only rationale we could see.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because you've put a message out on X to the effect that Iran is, quote, trying to drag Iraq into this destructive war, you've written. And I wanted to ask you what you thought the rationale was for dragging Iraq in. What's Iran trying to achieve, do you think?
Well, it's the same. It uses its proxies in Lebanon and in Iraq, actually, to turn these countries also into part of this conflict or fighting on their side. I mean, we've seen the armed outlawed militias in Iraq have targeted their own, the state's institution, the headquarters of the Iraqi General Intelligence, hotels. The other day, they kidnapped an American journalist in daylight in downtown Baghdad, the oil fields in Basra, Iraqi radar system. So really, they're trying to create as much chaos as possible. I don't know what they will get out of this, but Kurdistan has been subjected to a very aggressive and hostile offensive from both sides, from the Iranian side and from inside Iraqi territories. But the Iraqi is helpless, is powerless, really, vis-à-vis these militias, to bring them under control or to follow them or to name them or to stop their payment, at least, because they are under the government payroll. So it's very, very awkward, very dangerous, explosive situation throughout the country.
Just listening to the warnings coming out of the U.S. Embassy in Baghdad, warning that Americans should leave Iraq immediately. And it seems that Iraq could be targeted, Baghdad in particular, during the coming days. I wonder whether you expect to see a significant upsurge in violence in your country.
Well, this is the expectation of most of the diplomatic missions, actually. A large number of them have reduced their staff, or in Baghdad they have left, many of them actually in their dozens, because of this security threat or because of the security environment. And the American embassy warning was the clearest. And it was courageous, actually. Yesterday, they indicated that it would be difficult to trust the Iraqi government because many of these militias have the official government covers for their operation. So it was a stern warning to all American citizens really to leave the country or not to travel to Iraq.
I mean, Washington, for quite some time, and long before this conflict started, has been telling the Iraqi government to do more to purge the country of these groups that, as we've been saying, are loyal to Tehran. Do you think that Washington views Baghdad as being somehow in cahoots with Tehran?
Well, I think they have given them a lot of time to act and to encourage them. But really the conclusion is even the government could be a culprit here. I mean, that's why this warning was a departure from previous travel warning. And I think they have their own doubts that these militias may have penetrated the security services, the military, the airports, and so on. So it's really a volatile situation, very uncertain. A great deal will depend, actually, on the outcome of this conflict, where it will end. Nobody has an answer still. But I think these militias have dragged Iraq into this conflict unwillingly. And the government itself is incapable of controlling. Not only that, Tom, some of these militias are firing rockets and drones into neighboring countries, to Saudi Arabia, into Kuwait, into United Arab Emirates. So they are far more dangerous than many people think.
Yeah, I want to ask you a bit more about these pro-Iran factions that are, in fact, integrated into the Iraqi army. I'm given to understand they do sometimes act independently of the Iraqi army, even though they're part of it. And that raises the question, who has more control over the Iraqi army, Baghdad or Tehran?
Well, it should be Baghdad. I mean, the commander-in-chief is the prime minister who is mandated to provide peace and security for his own people. But in fact, it seems that some of these militias, for ideological reason, have the upper hand. And they are the ones who are running the show, unfortunately. And they receive annually over $3 billion as salaries and payment. So imagine how much they are benefiting and siphoning Iraqi resources. Although the official popular mobilization forces, al-Hashd, should be part of the Iraqi security structure, but really they are acting independently and they are a law in themselves. They don't follow the Iraqi government policies as such.
So did the error, looking back on it, lie in the decision to integrate the Hashd al-Sha'bi, or the PMF as they're known, into the main Iraqi army? Was that where the problem can be traced back to?
Well, it is the core problem, yes. That's the core reason. They should have been integrated in the Iraqi security forces long time ago. As you know, the Hashd al-Sha'bi was formed when ISIS or Daesh rose in many provinces, and they had a fatwa from Ayatollah Sistani to go and defend the country, which was a legitimate thing. Everybody supported them. Then, really, they were not willing whatsoever, not ready to be integrated into the security forces. So you have this dual military bodies in the country, which no country can survive, actually, with this duality. It is a major problem and challenge for the many successive Iraqi government, but all of them have failed to do their job.
Right, and I mean, immediately parallels with Lebanon spring to mind, where the Lebanese government has been asked to do something similar, which is to purge the country of these armed groups and disarm Hezbollah.
Tom,
go ahead.
Tom, here is far more difficult. In Lebanon, you have only one Hezbollah or one militias. Here in Iraq, you have over 80 militias. All have their own structure, all have their own money. Many of them have their own drones. They are supplied with rockets, with the technology. So it is much more complicated, really, than Lebanon.
Okay. I mean, what does the Iraqi public make of all of this? I mean, are they more sympathetic to Tehran? Are they more sympathetic to Washington, or neither?
Well, they are more sympathetic to their own country, neither to Washington nor to Tehran. Really, there is an Iraqi sense of nationalism. But these people have the money, have the coercion, they have the weapons to intimidate them. So really, they have been marginalized, not to speak up, although there is a great deal of displeasure and unhappiness about their interventions in many areas of their own lives. But this is the task of the government and the government security forces, really to rise up and to bring them to some under some control. And this is not happening or not taking place. Although ideologically, yes, they are mostly Shia who are aligned with Iran, and they believe that this is a sacred war or conflict between the Shia governors, both in Iran and in Iraq, and against the Zionists, against the imperialists of the Western world, the United States and Israel. And they are fighting an existential threat to them. But honestly, an ordinary Iraqi would say, if you want to help your neighbor, that's fine, but don't burn your own house. You see, and this is what they are doing.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the attraction of Iran is to the average Iraqi person in terms of any sense of allegiance or anything else. I mean, when you look at Iran's situation even before this war started, it was heading in the direction of a failed state. You turn on the tap in Tehran and no water was coming out for several weeks at a stretch. People's living standards have progressively gone south. I mean, why would groups want to ally themselves to a country like Iran that doesn't seem to have an awful lot to offer?
Well, the only attraction actually is the shared sect they have of being Shiism, and for ideological reason, for fanaticism, that's the only attraction. There is no other economic or political or democratic attraction that they would be attached. Purely it's ideological.
Okay, I mean, just to wrap up this conversation, can anyone or anything, in your view, stop Iraq from being dragged into this broadening conflict?
Well, Iraq would be the first casualty of this conflict will end, and people really should follow Iraqi development. Is facing serious political, security, financial, economic crisis. Iraq now is blocked. It cannot export its oil through the Strait of Hormuz. Now they are busing their oil to Syria, for instance. They were unable to diversify the oil external ports, relying solely on Basra or on the Gulf. They failed to open up to Jordan in Aqaba or to Syria to build pipelines. They have failed because of failed government policies. So really, Iraq is in a very, very difficult situation and condition. And the departure of oil companies, of diplomatic missions, lack the confidence of investor in the country is being lost because of the actions of these militias who really are targeting everything Western.
Okay, and just before we wrap up, I want to ask you one very quick question about the freelance journalist Shelley Kittleson, who's been abducted in Baghdad. I just want to ask you what you think will be done to secure her release and who specifically you think is responsible for having abducted her.
Well, it's another failure of Iraqi security forces, actually. She was abducted in downtown Baghdad, in the most secured area of the Sa'dun region, where there are many checkpoints and so on. But it seems that some security personnel may be culprit in her abduction. Again, the government will form another investigation commission like the Israeli-Russian journalist Swarkov. She was abducted for over a year until she was released after a direct threat from President Trump to Kataib Hezbollah. So we don't know which faction has abducted her, although she was in good terms. She was covering their activities, their rise for many years. She was friendly to them, but really they will use her as a pawn in some negotiation or talks and so on. But it is a sad story for journalists, you see, who are covering conflict or wars. We've seen they should have some immunity, but in this case, no, she's been abducted.
Okay, we really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us. Hoshia Zebari, former Deputy Prime Minister of Iraq.
Most welcome, Tom.
Former Foreign Minister of Iraq. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
It has been exactly 1 month today since Lebanon was dragged into the war. Well, this began on March the 2nd when Hezbollah fired rockets at Israel in solidarity with Tehran. Well, since then, Israeli strikes have killed close to 1,300 people across Lebanon, and evacuation orders have forced more than 1 million people from their homes. Well, today, Hezbollah says it has launched more drones and rockets at northern Israel. Well, in one fresh development, the Syrian army says it has uncovered a network of tunnels along the Lebanese border, which they say were being used by Hezbollah to smuggle weapons and drugs. Well, we're joined now from Beirut by Dr. Abdi Nasser Abu Bakr, who is the World Health Organization's representative in Lebanon. Dr. Abu Bakr, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to speak to us at what I imagine is a very busy time for you. The reports we're getting is that the death toll keeps on rising there in Lebanon. Explosions, deadly explosions, I should add, on the edges of Beirut during the last few days, notably in the Janah district on the edge of the capital. Rockets fired this morning from Lebanon towards northern Israel. Tell us, in your words, what the situation in Lebanon is today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. We really appreciate that. I think the situation in Lebanon is what I can describe is, it's the situation is really escalating since March 2nd. What we have seen is a major escalation, not only in the south, but also in Beirut, suburban, and also different parts. And that escalation and that continued airstrike, actually, that we have, that, the country is experiencing, that have led the displacement of almost over 1 million people. And as you know, that there's also a mandatory evacuation in in the south up to Litania River, up to Sahara River. And there are, thousands of people that are currently displaced who are living in shelters in Beirut, but also outside Beirut across. And there are over 650 shelters where people are staying into that. So I think, this conflict and this escalation is impacting the civilians more than anything else, but also it has serious consequences on the health system, the economy, and not to mention into that. I think that's the situation that we're experiencing in Lebanon now.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the healthcare system, and in particular how this conflict is impacting your colleagues in the healthcare system. We understand that at least 75 Israeli attacks have attacked healthcare facilities in Lebanon. That's resulted in more than 50 deaths, 126 injuries. That's amongst on-duty healthcare personnel. And you've issued a joint statement with the UN Humanitarian Coordinator there in Lebanon, calling for healthcare workers and first responders to be protected. And I just wondered whether your call has been heeded and whether you've seen things improve or not.
Well, thank you very much. I think, I have to say that, the healthcare system, the conflict has placed enormous strain to the healthcare system in general, but more so on the healthcare workers, first responders, but also the healthy facilities itself. It's not because not only we are losing lives, actually, but also we are really impacting the ability for us to provide services to the most vulnerable people. Because when we attack the ambulances, when we attack the healthcare workers, when we attack the health facilities, we will not be able to provide the services to those people who are mostly in need. I think the advocacy that we continue to do that at my level, the RC, the residence coordinator, my director general, and also the secretary general, is all about reminding people and all parties that there is what we call international humanitarian law that protects the healthcare workers, the healthy facilities, and also the ambulances, because they are here to serve and also to save lives. And I think it's so far what we are seeing actually is intensive attacks on healthcare in different aspects of it. And I hope, our advocacy will pay off to reach out to those people who are responsible, all parties, and at least they will protect the healthcare workers.
Now, in a statement, the World Health Organization has described the Lebanese healthcare system as, quote unquote, fragile. And I wondered how it's coping with the kinds of mass casualty events that I'm assuming it's having to cope with in the context of this war.
Well, it's a fragile in a sense where, just to take you back, even before this conflict and even the 2024 conflict, the health system in Lebanon was really impacted by the financial crisis, by COVID, by the Beirut Blast, and many. And while we were trying to rebuild the health system, then we have experienced the 2024 crisis. And now also, as we're moving forward to see how we can better address the healthcare system, the hospitals, the healthcare workers, now that we have another conflict that we cannot move forward, I think. Now we are moving backward because so many health facilities now, they are closed. 5 hospitals and 49 primary healthcare facilities are closed, but also 10 hospitals, referral hospitals that meant to save lives now, they are damaged by the airstrikes into that. Not to mention the healthcare workforce, which is immense pressure. If you visit any hospital right now in Beirut and in Lebanon in general, they're overwhelmed. They're overwhelmed with the displaced people who are seeking healthcare services. They are overwhelmed, the host communities and other vulnerable people who are seeking it. And hospitals are saturated, actually. And an average 95% of the bed capacity of hospitals are full as we speak right now.
Right, so clearly the healthcare system under enormous strain. And I wonder, in terms of supplies, have the hospitals got what they need?
Well, as of now, actually, with the government, the Minister of Health, under leadership of the Minister of Health, but also with the WHO and other partners, we are providing supplies to keep up the function, the services for the hospitals. But if this conflict prolongs, then we will be seeing that a time where we don't have supplies in the hospitals. Remember what I said earlier, that hospitals are overwhelmed. The number of patients that they're serving is triple. and that the consumption of the supplies even increased significantly. Not to mention that the supplies that coming into the country right now are very limited due to the shipping challenge. You know, now we used to receive supplies from Dubai because our biggest warehouse is in Dubai. Now we don't have flights, actually. There's only one airline that coming to Beirut, which is the Middle East, and it's not a cargo. So now we have to explore other options, how we can bring supplies into the countries. Thanks God that today, actually, we received the first road convoy from Dubai through Saudi Arabia, through Jordan, through Syria, and finally for Lebanon for almost 10 days. And this is a challenge that we are going through. So we are really trying to anticipate if this conflict is prolonged, we really need to ensure that we have adequate supplies for the hospitals.
Right, a challenge for multiple reasons, and not to mention the cost factor in the context of much higher oil costs and transportation costs. When people talk about the total breakdown of the healthcare system there in Lebanon, I mean, it sounds like we could be approaching that sort of situation. What does that mean in practice, the breakdown of the healthcare system?
Well, we haven't reached at that level of health system breaking down. But if the pressure continues, probably we may reach to that level. But so far, I think the health system is functioning. The health system is, despite the strain, despite the pressure, is trying to serve the people who are in need and saving lives. Remember that there are 3,935 injured patients that we are managing, that hospitals have managed so far. There are over 1 million displaced people. Majority of them are elderly and children who are in need of care and services. So far we are providing the services, and hospitals and healthcare workforce are providing the services. But the question is how long? And what we are really asking is, we really need the escalation and we really need peace, so at least we can better provide services to those people who are in need.
Dr. Abu Bakr, I mean, there are a number of signals that Israel intends to occupy parts of southern Lebanon, even after the war against Hezbollah has ended. And I'm wondering what that'll mean for the 1.1 million people who are already displaced. I mean, will they never be able to go home?
Well, I think the current plan is that those people who are displaced, if this prolongs and if Israel occupy this, they will be out of their houses, actually. They will be staying in shelters for months and years to come. And that's what the government, actually, and the Humanitarian, the UN, are trying to plan in the long-term plan, actually, exactly. If this thing is prolonged, we cannot keep these people to live in the shelter. Living in the shelter is a very difficult living conditions. It's overcrowded, poor water and sanitation conditions, the food. I think it's, people cannot sustain a proper living conditions in the shelter, and we need to find alternative solutions if people will not be able to go back to their houses. And especially now what we're hearing, even the houses is being destroyed, actually. They don't have a place to go back.
Right. I mean, in many ways, the 136,000 people who are in the shelters, that's out of a total of more than 1 million people we're talking about here, they're the lucky ones, because a lot of people are not in shelters. There aren't enough spaces in the shelters. And therefore, they're having to camp on the roads. They're having to seek shelter in people's homes. And I'm wondering whether, with everyone's resources stretched, with patients running thin, whether we're starting to see perhaps goodwill subsiding. Are we starting to see tensions play out there in Lebanon?
Well, I think, first of all, there are some, both the government as well as some international donors have already provided some donations, some supplies, some resources, but it's not enough to cover the life-saving needs. Especially, I can speak on the health sector. Actually, the support that we get so far actually is very limited. We will not be able to continue the services that we are providing to the displaced people for a long term unless we receive more resources to provide into it. So we are appealing to the international communities. We are appealing with the donors who are in interest to save more lives, actually to open their wallets and provide some resources for us to continue, whether it's food, whether it's a shelter, whether it's medications and the supplies. I visited 2 hospitals, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, and I was surprised to see that, the number of patients that are seeking for dialysis, kidney dialysis, that have tripled, and the hospital has to make a 4 shift in order to meet the demand. Doing all these services requires resources, whether it's a supplies, whether it's a motivation of healthcare workers. I think what we are reminding the international community, we all have a responsibility for Lebanon. And I think we should not leave the Lebanese and the Lebanon as a country alone, but we really need to rescue and we really need to provide resources that can help to save lives.
Yeah, I mean, just looking at the issue of resources and funding, you've already mentioned how a number of the traditional donors, like the GCC countries, are already very occupied with the war on their own. They've got their own issues at home that they're having to worry about, and not to mention the fact that Lebanon is not the only humanitarian crisis in the world. There's Sudan, there's South Sudan, there's Afghanistan, there's Somalia, to name but a few. And just looking at the money side of things in more detail, in 2024, the UN raised about $700 million for Lebanon for a conflict that lasted 2.5 months. We're not seeing anything like that level of funding this time around, are we?
Absolutely not. I think in 2024, the funding level was extremely very high, and we are very grateful for all the donors that have contributed. But I think right now, as we're seeing right now, the situation is different. It's not only because there is a very competitive, many other priorities competing each other emergencies, but also what's happening globally. I think the international humanitarian aid have reduced significantly, and the small funding that's available, actually, there are many other needs that exist. So I think donors have also difficult decisions to make where and what to fund and where to fund into that. But I think in the context of Lebanon, I think the government is trying its best, but they have their own challenges. But I think we really need to see how we can better help for those people who are most in need, the displaced, elderly people, children who are dying, those who are wounded in the conflict, and there's a food shortage, there's a fuel shortage, there's a medication shortage that we will be experiencing very short unless we have resources to overcome these challenges.
Okay, I mean, it's been 1 month today since hostilities between Israel and Hezbollah erupted, and I'm wondering whether you're getting any sense of optimism from the people that you're talking to that there could be some sort of a resolution in the days and weeks ahead, or does it still feel like it's a very long way off?
Well, listen, we don't lose the hope. We want to be optimistic. That optimistic in a sense where, the escalation and peace negotiation and ceasefire, we are very hopeful that it will come tomorrow. Nevertheless, in the current context, I'm not aware of any, diplomatic negotiation on the ceasefire and the de-escalation. But nevertheless, for me as a doctor, that is not my part, actually. I leave with that with the diplomats and the politicians to deal with it. For me, I need to deal how I can save, the children who are sick, the mothers who are giving birth, those who are wounded in the war. This is my responsibility. And I think I'm trying to concentrate how I can better serve and save those people who are in need the most at the hospital level, at the primary health care, at the shelters, and all levels.
And just lastly, Dr. Abu Bakr, I mean, a message to the world about the situation there in Lebanon. What would you like people to hear from you? Well,
what I really want to say is that, the situation in Lebanon since March 2nd, we have over 1 million people that have been displaced. And the living condition of those displaced people are unacceptable. And I think we need to do more to improve their lives. We really need to do more in their lives where we need to provide resources that can help us to improve, to provide food, sanitation, water, a shelter, but also, the human dignity that they deserve for these people. It's not only for the displaced people, but those people who are hosting, actually. They have lost many of their relatives into that. So my message is that Lebanon, what the first and the most they need actually is a ceasefire and peace. That's what we really need to do. And secondly, we need resources to help those people who are in need. Thank you.
Okay, well, we thank you very much indeed. Dr. Abdi Nasser Abu Bakr, the World Health Organization's representative in Lebanon. Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Well, that is all we have time for on Global News today. Thank you very much indeed for watching. Do join us again tomorrow for a look back at some of the best interviews of the week. Until then, goodbye.
Do you reckon we got any influence over Tuchel's picks?
Well, let's hope he's listening to me and Joe, not
Yeah.
you.
Put your Tottenham hat on.
I don't have a Tottenham hat.
Yeah.
What are you your hand up for?
Maybe Stones, you know.
Oh, that's what I'm just about to. Don't wait, trying to steal mine.
Welcome to the Dressing Room Podcast with me, Joe Cole, Wayne Bridge, and Colton Cole. How are you, chaps?
How are you, mate?
Good,
You good?
Bit fresher this week?
A little bit.
Yeah. What's the hesitation? What was the hesitation?
I had my mate stay over, didn't I? And he's a bad influence.
Oh, yeah. Luke.
Yeah, you know him well. But
Yeah.
I usually always get the blame, but I've got
know it.
video evidence and voice note evidence.
That's true.
And I sent it to you guys.
Yeah.
He's the bad influence.
Yeah.
And he ended up not going home. Ended
Well,
up
we gave you
staying
some
2
advice.
nights.
Yeah.
And led me a little bit astray yesterday. But I stood strong and I was in bed by 9:30.
Yeah.
I like the way that
so
you was
not
getting
too
receipts.
bad.
Like he's filming him on the slide going, should we go to bed? And Luke's going, nah, another couple.
And
he's
kind
going,
of drinks he kept going.
do you know what I mean? Gathering evidence, like the old Bill.
Because I always get the blame, mate, and his missus blames me as well.
Yeah, everyone blames Bridgie.
You went Ashcroft, didn't you?
I did go, mate. Me and him went, mate. I think he is superb. At one point, he, the whole place was bouncing the O2, and it was Bittersweet Symphony, and
That
he
was at
finished
the
with
end.
Sonnet and then Bittersweet Symphony. But he dedicated it
To his dog.
to his dog. No, that was Drugs Don't Work.
Yeah,
He
Drugs Don't
dedicated
Work,
to his dog, but he dedicated it to all the hard-working men.
Oh,
Do you know,
yeah, that
like,
was the
you're
other
out
one,
there, like he said, you're out there, you're trying to earn a living. I know it's tough. Like you spent your money to come here, and then felt the place go, wow. Do you know, and then the tune dropped.
Yeah.
And he was
It's a
like,
great tune
it
as
was
well.
just, and he kept it going. Mate, he's soulful.
Yes.
Before we move on, can I just say your hair looks sensational?
Oh, cheers,
today.
mate. Thank you very much.
Like
yeah.
good.
Looks
I
good.
like it.
Got the afro going, didn't you?
Well, I grew it a little bit, didn't I?
He does look
And then
good.
I can't do what the hairdresser did, though.
What?
He made it into like a proper permy thing. And I try and do it, mate. It's like frisball. It's just like a frisball.
Do you know what? I could give you a good,
New lesson.
I could
Yeah?
give you a good haircut, mate.
Yeah?
Give you a nice
Well,
little mullet.
you're just
Give you a little mullet.
He was trying to talk
love
me
that.
into
That's what
a
you
mullet.
the mullet.
Everyone's getting mullet.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
back
I
in,
know,
mate.
yeah.
Give you a nice
I
little
don't
mullet.
know.
I would love to have that hair, but listen,
You can
like,
still grow it
genuinely,
at
nah,
the back.
can't. I would genuinely love to, mate. I just can't bring myself to go and,
I wish I had hair,
mate.
mate.
I think it would change the way I walk. It would be more,
And talk.
honestly, and talk.
And talk.
Everything, shoulders would come back a little bit.
We've seen what
You
happened
all
to.
like that anyway.
But listen, we need to get back. We need to get going, right?
Yeah.
Spurs relegation battle. Listen, Igor Tudor's. He's been sacked after 7 games. He's in charge for 44 days. He lost 5 of these 7 games and 1 point in the 5 Premier League games. But first things first, where's it going? But do the board need to take some responsibility for this?
I don't think anyone knows where it's going, do they?
But
of course they got to take responsibility.
yeah.
It's a it just seems like an absolute shambles.
What was your initial thoughts when he come in? Because you look at the names that were linked to it. Originally, there was talk of Harry Redknapp, Glenn Hoddle, Robbie Keane, and now Sean Dyche has come into that. And De Zerbi's the front runner. They all make sense. Igor Tudor never seemed to make sense to me. He had no connection to the club, no Premier League experience, and he was a taskmaster. So for me, the board have looked at it, and it just shows their naivety. That the fact that they all of them things were not taken into consideration, and they don't even understand. One thing the board has to have, it has to have an understanding of the type of players it's bringing into the club and the type of group they are. The group at Spurs seem to me like a group that have been, first of all, they've got some of the best managers of the last 15 years sacked. You know, and you know that because we've seen the documentary, you know, with certain players, you know, so you've seen behind the scenes certain players going to Daniel Levy, you know, all of that nonsense that happens at football clubs. You've seen all of that under Mourinho and like Conte, you know, some top managers.
Yeah.
So if you know this, it seems like a very, very fragile bunch of players, and Igor Tudor is a taskmaster. So they just didn't work from the off. These boys gone, no, I don't know how you get a tune out of them. Well, I know what I would do. I would go and get Harry Redknapp or Robbie Keane.
Even Jermaine Defoe.
Jermaine Defoe, we'll get onto that later because that's another madness in taking that job where he's gone. But they need to be nurtured through this crisis, get to the summer, stay in the Premier League, and then you have to recalibrate the whole club and get people in who actually understand football. Because the Igor Tudor thing was like an exercise in how to you know, take your club backwards. It was mental.
Yeah, for me, I look at all of this with I've taken it in with open arms because obviously West Ham are where we are and we are contending not to be relegated. I wish for Forest and Spurs to carry on their current form, because obviously it's good for us. You know what I mean? So that Forest Spurs game, that was an interesting game because someone said earlier they would have rather Forest have lost than Spurs because they think probably Spurs have got more in the locker to get out of this scenario. But I think vice versa.
We've been saying that for weeks.
I think vice versa. I think Forest have shored up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Especially after that game, but I thought that before because Pereira's done really well coming in. I think that he's starting to get a tune out of the Forest players, and they've got a good squad too. So I look at it, I think it's out of Leeds can get brought into this as well, but Forest and Spurs and West Ham are in it.
Yeah, and
we need to go with. I'm going with Spurs to go down.
Really?
Yeah, because obviously I don't want West Ham to go down.
Yeah, but what have you seen in Spurs? That
he just don't like him.
No, it's nothing to do with that. Actually, it's nothing to do with that.
What do you see? Because I
just think the players. I'm not battering them. Don't get me wrong, but I just think they're for me they're copping out.
I think they've got it mentally.
Because sometimes they come out. That second half against Man City, right? That second half against Man City, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I was thinking they had Man City like on the back foot,
on the ropes.
So I'm thinking, so where's this been? This performance? Don't just roll out your best performances when you want to. So it shows that they're doing it. They can do it, and they're willing to do it, but under the right circumstances. Which is, I think, you can't pick and choose your battles when you're in a relegation battle. You got to be out there making sure. I've been in relegation battles. You can't pick and choose when you want to perform. So it seems like to me that they are, and they're just blaming on the manager. The players
do you not think
are blaming on the manager.
Some of it comes down to their mentality, though. Like fear as well. Because
do you think it's fear with them?
I reckon there's people in the Premier League, especially if you're down there and you're having a hard time. We're all built different. We're all wild. We're all wired differently. There will be probably people that go out on that pitch and think they're worrying. Don't make a mistake here. And that affects your game.
Yeah. Well, we talked about this on the pod before, right? Where you look at Tottenham fans have probably thought to themselves, we've got Romero, we've got Van der Ven, we've got Solanke.
On paper,
kudos, we've got great players, right? But what you don't understand, what people maybe don't understand is, right, we've all been footballers, right? Think of yourself when you're at your highest confidence and how you performed, and then think of yourself when you're at the lowest confidence, right? Two different players, right? So the whole Tottenham squad is low on confidence. So the leader's critical. The first thing you have to do...
Who are the leaders? Or do the leaders keep on getting sent off?
Yeah, that's true. But
Romero.
But I'm talking, all right, the ultimate leader, whoever the manager is, he has to come and give confidence to the players, right? And that's but they have to buy into him. They have to believe in the manager coming in to go, right, whoever it may be, you know, and there's talk at the moment before we go to it.
You've got to make them, haven't you? When I look at, like, you might have had more managers than me, but two managers, or maybe three that stand out, probably four actually. You had Hoddle, Mourinho, Strachan and Gus Poyet.
Right.
You know, they just had something about them.
Yeah.
Gus Poyet,
Yeah, you love Gus Poyet.
I loved him. He was brilliant, tactically brilliant. But they had a way of getting it across, and Do you know, you had that feeling with Mourinho coming, no, you've got to be on it here.
Yeah.
On it. Same with Glenn Hoddle. Motivational, but just like, I don't know if he's putting pressure on you, but it's just, they were on you. And the training had to be good, do you know what I mean? And the way they got their message across, they were all very different.
Yeah.
But, I come across some managers and I think to myself, how are you even a manager?
How was the training with these managers? How was the training? Was training more intense than
I'd
other
say
managers that you've had?
Gordon Strachan trained as intense. We were super fit. I say Mourinho was just training as intense.
Yeah.
And very demanding. If it was ever slack, I think it was on your case. Hoddle was training was just brilliant, but tactically, I just thought he was way ahead. Like it was like Mourinho, tactically very good. I'd just say Hoddle was just way ahead of his time.
So like when you're talking about a dogfight in the relegation battle, out of all those managers you've named, who would you have, like in the situation Spurs are in now?
I think you could take any of them.
Yeah.
I think
do they bring different qualities?
Okay, here's a better question for you then, right? So I agree with you. We've all been relegated, right? And I've also had relegation battles which we've won. And I'm looking at the names on the list now. So you've got Harry Redknapp, Glenn Hoddle, Robbie Keane, Sean Dyche, and De Zerbi. De Zerbi's the favourite. So, right, Harry Redknapp, I spoke to him the other day. He's 78 years of age, but he looked fresh as. When I was chatting to him
the other day as well.
When I was chatting to him, we was talking about old times. Right, this is how much his brain works. He remembered youth team games I played that I didn't remember. So he's sharp as a tack, Harry. Still, forget the fact he's been in the jungle eating bugs and all that. He probably could still go in
probably
there.
Helped him.
Protein.
Yeah.
Glenn Hoddle the same. I worked with Glenn.
100%.
Glenn had obviously his heart condition.
Yeah.
But Glenn, when he talks and visualises football, and plus with Glenn, he, like Harry, they both know the club inside out. They know the fans. And don't underestimate that, because every club has got a relationship between the fans and the team. You know, we've all played for West Ham, and that's a very unique relationship between the fans. And just, so we wouldn't understand going in what's needed. So Igor Tudor coming to Tottenham, no idea of what the fans expected, played a certain way. Fans went, we don't like this straight, and it didn't work.
And the players as well.
And the players, right? So them two there. Robbie Keane, the same, but Robbie Keane's on the other end of the spectrum. He's at the start of his managerial career. He's 45. He's won 2 league titles. And he's bubbly, and he's, full of energy. He's like... And then Sean Dyche, he is the old hand. So any of them options are good. Now, I think De Zerbi, who's the actual favourite, I think he's the one where you look at...
He's a wild card.
Although he's probably the most, reputation-wise, the most talented of all of them at the moment, I think he doesn't know the club.
Risk. He does know the club. He's been in the Premier League. He knows the club.
Yeah, but not like in the same... Not for as long as the others, right? So I think he plays a brand of football which...
He needs to just get a result out of these boys. And the brand of football at this stage is not important. Right. Yeah? So I think he is a good manager, a very good manager that will come in and say, listen, we just need to win games. Yeah. So the brand of football is out the window at this stage. I think for anyone. It's not about brand of football when you're trying to save your career. You're not your career, the status of Premier League football. So I think what will happen if De Zerbi does come in, he'll say, listen, if we get relegated, I want a pay rise. This is actually a job that's going to damage my status if we do get relegated, because we're on the downhill slope. So what are we actually working towards here? So he's going to have to. But if they want him now, So if he does save the season, he's going to get a bumper contract. And is that good for Spurs in the long run? Like having him as a beacon of light. Because next season, if they do say that he's going to have to spend money, because he's not going to want some of those players. He's going to be on big wedge because he saved them as well. So it's going to be, they're going to be in a dilemma anyway, I think.
All right. Okay. All right.
I think they're going to be in a dilemma.
Right. Put your Tottenham hat on.
I don't have a Tottenham hat.
I ain't got one.
No, mate. I don't
I'll try and put one on. Go on.
I don't think the fans have got one anymore. They're taking it off.
Okay,
go on then. I'll put my Tottenham hat on. What you got?
No one's got a Tottenham hat on. I've never heard of a Tottenham hat.
All right. Okay. All right. If you're all right, but seriously, if you was on the board at Tottenham, what would you do now? they got 7 games to go. Is it 7 games to go?
What would you do to save the season?
Save the season. And
I'll take them down the pub. Yeah. I'll take them down the pub. Team bonding, mate.
Mate, that didn't work at West Ham when we were there.
That's because
there's 2 people ended up having a fight.
Did they?
We went down.
Yeah, we did.
Who had a fight?
We went down.
Who was the ones that had a fight?
I can't remember. I think, wasn't it?
But I was just drunk and disorderly.
Someone else.
I was drunk and disorderly. That was. But
a bit of team bonding. It just ended up in a row.
Ended up in a brawl. And sometimes you need a brawl.
Yeah, sometimes
that just showed you that we're going down. After that night out.
Lads, it was cab home like that. It was done, lads.
This didn't work, did it? But if you get it early enough and you got a few characters in that dressing room, I think you can always save a season on a night out on the lash. I think you can.
Yeah, but can I say as well?
But these boys nowadays are not doing it.
I know, but so people go, that might be old school thinking, right? But listen, it's not old school because men bond. Sometimes there's barriers, so you have a few drinks and you lighten up, and you can sometimes say a few things,
jokes,
relax, and then you. That's how men do it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
But it's very hard to get people to bond when you just don't like each other.
Yeah, that's true.
It didn't help when people were bringing out their wives on the team night out. That's what happened.
Really?
They're bringing out their wives.
Yes, unacceptable.
Unacceptable behaviour. So obviously,
my wife's coming to this podcast in a minute.
This is men's only. Men's only. But it's like that. But look, I think the bonding thing, I've done a lot of bonding in my life, mate.
I've seen it work at Southampton.
You know what I mean?
I've seen it work.
I know how it looks. I know what it's supposed to look like.
When you're down there, you've got to have everyone in that team ready to fight.
Yeah.
You've got to have that fight mentality, give everything for each other.
And what people don't understand is when you're in a relegation fight and you're playing football, right? Because for all intents and purposes, most people are not as lucky as we are to have played professional football, right? And when you could play a Premier League game, day 5, sun's out, crowd's okay, no pressure. Day 35, when you need to win, and everyone at the club's job's on the line. The fans, they're angry with you because they pay their money, and then you've got to go out there and perform to your level with players that you think have let you down, or so all of that emotional stuff comes together. So you're right, you need to find a way. You need to find a way to come together and play under that pressure, and that's why I think Spurs will struggle, because I don't think they have no idea what they're coming in for.
No, but Coley, look at this though. They was in this last season as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair enough. They mastered it with the European Cup.
Yeah.
But they was in this last season and they've not improved in the Premier League since. So what's that telling you? You know what I mean?
It's a pattern.
It's a pattern. So you can look at all the managers. You've got to start looking at the players. The players are the ones that are they're the ones that are getting used to this lifestyle. They're getting used to this lifestyle, being right at the bottom and fighting for their lives. And the thing about it, on top of that, why are they there? Look, how much does that squad cost? They've got no business being down there. Do you know? They've got no, so it hasn't been addressed last season. All you thought it was the manager's fault. Nah, you got to start looking at the players.
Yeah.
You've had it where a manager's been parachuted in at West Ham. What's that actually like?
Well, when Trevor Brooking come in, it come in off the back because Glenn Roeder had, bless him, he had the brain injury, didn't he? And he collapsed. So I got the phone call. I was captain. I got the phone call. We just lost a terrible game at home, and I was actually in Romford and I was having a bit of dinner. I was with I think I was with my mum and dad. I was having a bit of dinner and then Glenn's not well. Blah, blah, blah. And then you think, just hope he's... Then first of all, you go with the family and hope he's all right and everything. Then the next day, it was one of them. They had no option. So Trevor was working with a board. So Trevor we'd never seen at the training ground. So then all of a sudden, I went into his office as captain, and we had a half an hour chat about what's wrong. What does he think? What does I think? And remember, I'm 21 at the time, so I'm like, it's all new. So you're just...
It's mad to do it at that age.
At that age, really. Yeah. So we had an honest conversation, and sort of Paolo was coming back from injury, and he's like, I'm bringing Paolo back in the team. And I was like, well, that's great, but Paolo was was a great player, great legend at West Ham, but he wasn't like someone you could go, he was because because he's a genius, right? Yeah. Sometimes he'd win us games out of nothing, and then so we Trevor come in,
a maverick, wasn't he? Proper maverick.
Yeah, and he brought Paolo back into, there's a lot of pressure on Glenn, and the lads love Glenn and they'd fight for Glenn, right? But there was probably a subset of players that probably weren't happy, like in any relegation battle, right? So Trev come in, and Trev's very inoffensive. It was a great player at West Ham, one of the all-time greats, for England as well. And I think what he'd done really well, and it was complete new for him. So 21-year-old captain, as much as he's a legend, he'd never managed. So the coaches, we simplified everything. I think Glenn's injuries, illness, situation brought us all together because we're like, come on, guys, come on, we've got to do this. And we went on and won, I think it was 4 out of 6 or something, and we got to 42 points. We went down, and nobody's gone down on that. So what Trev done, him, but also because the fact of what happened to Glenn, when it becomes life rather than football, it brings you all together. And I just remember thinking, right, I've always give everything to the team whenever I played, but I was like, put myself completely to the side. Yeah. And I was like, I need to and you give everything, and eventually it didn't work. We went down.
What players are doing that?
At Spurs. Well, I
can see it at West Ham now.
I'll tell you one player.
Boys are playing out of their skin. You got to look at it. So I look at Spurs, and I don't see that. That bond, that grit, that I will die for you. Kind of thing. Yeah. And you can say, they're playing, at least at West Ham, they're saying, at least they're playing for the manager. Yeah. You can't say that Spurs, so there's a void there.
Do you know what Harry Redknapp's a genius, right? When he said if he took the job at Spurs, he said first thing he'd do is make Archie Gray captain.
He's a player as well.
Yeah. Absolute player. And he's the only one, not the only one I've seen with Tottenham that's at it all the time, giving himself. And he's, 20? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, listen, we move on, but whoever comes in at Tottenham's got to find a way of just
getting that team together.
Getting it together. Right, let's fast forward to the summer, boys. Right, England, it's June the 17th, the sun's shining, Bridgie's by the pool with his Speedos on.
With the rum and coke.
Colton's rum and coke.
Rum and ginger, mate. Rum and ginger.
Yeah. Colton's relaxing with a spicy margarita.
Yeah, in the pool.
And I'm
my rubber dinghy.
And I'm lathering up my slaphead.
Yeah, okay.
Mate, you can't dive,
though. So, what about when Sam Palmer's house?
We need to put the footage up. We need to
go with Sam Palmer's house.
Carlton learning to dive.
Mate, it's diabolical. Diabolical. I've made a fool of myself. Anyway.
Go on, back to England.
Right, back to England. Right. But we're in Dallas and we're England and we're about to face Croatia.
Yeah.
Right. This is not a question of who do you think Thomas Tuchel will play. This question is, who would you play? You can take as long as you like. You could just name 11 or say how you would play.
Goalie. What are we going? Pickford?
Yeah, Pickford. Yeah. He's tried and tested, not let the country down.
Pickford. But what I would say is...
Trafford.
I think this will be Pickford's last tournament. Yeah. Because I watched Trafford in that cup final. All right, okay, all right.
Yeah. But you want to shoehorn Trafford in?
Yeah.
No, just say that, mate.
Yeah. He's good. He looks great.
I reckon
so
if you was Gaffer now, if you was Gaffer, you would pick
Would you
Trafford.
chuck him in?
You chuck him in.
I don't know. You'd have to be around him more.
I'd have to be around him more. But I think Pickford's brilliant, right? And I think he's getting on a bit.
No, he ain't.
No. I think he's brilliant, right?
Mate,
but I just think
goalkeepers don't get on a bit.
I've not been as excited about an English goalkeeper since I've seen Trafford. He looks so calm.
You know what you're like, right? Do you know what you're like?
Go on.
You're the guy. The night before Christmas, you already opened the presents. You're impatient, bro. Just chill out, man. You don't want to.
All right, we'll go with Pickford.
I saw you put Dowman in your squad to go.
No, that was me.
No, he did.
Oh, was that you?
To be fair, right, when we did that, right, when you asked us on and off the plane, I looked at this yesterday trying to name a squad, and I was thinking, if we're going from Ed, I'm so happy I'm the England manager. Not that it ever would be, but it's a headache, mate.
Wait till you see how much they pay him.
It's a headache. All right, yeah. All right, I need to do my badges first. But it's a headache.
I reckon you'd be a good manager.
It's a headache. Oh, yeah, I'll be really good.
Yeah, I know
I reckon you would. Just be shouting at the referee all the time.
It's hard, even to pick an 11.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's hard, mate, but that's what we're doing.
All right, we're doing it. I'm going to go.
To be a good manager, you got to shout at the referee, and you're very good at it.
Yeah. Right, I was back 4. I'll go James, Gahey, Konza, O'Reilly, left back.
Oh, yeah,
So James, Gahey.
So that could change tomorrow.
Konza, so they're two left-sided.
All right. So
bit lopsided, isn't it?
No, that'd be fine.
Where's the back? We've got players.
Oh, who do you put in? Harry?
Nah.
Who?
I don't know yet.
Yeah,
we ain't got to me yet. We ain't got to me yet.
Stick with me. All right,
stick with you,
that's what I've gone
you
for.
might say something.
I could change my mind for it. That's what I've gone for, Riley.
Okay.
At that precise moment in time, yeah.
What formation are you going to play?
Well, 4 at the back, because there's 4 defenders there, yeah.
Mate, you're looking at me like I'm the old Bill, interrogating him. Just tell me.
After the back 4, it's just a complete headache.
Right, okay.
Me. Like, sometimes I think I'd play just 1 holding.
Right.
Sometimes 2, but I put...
First game at the World Cup. So think about it, like, that's the mentality you've got to be in.
I know, but I'm also a little bit like... I like us to have a go. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes I think we're playing really well and then we sit back and don't have a go. But I put in Anderson and Rice.
Okay. Yeah. Right. Physical, strong. Yeah.
Chuck Jude in there.
Yeah, it's a powerful midfield.
Yeah. Then, obviously, Kane up front.
Yeah.
And 2 wingers. Honestly, that's just headache.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Like 1 minute I think Gordon.
Yeah.
Rashford.
Yeah.
Next time I'm thinking Palmer. Saka. And, you've got to go on form.
Yeah,
it's difficult.
Well, you won't go
and then I'm leaving Foden out for... No, that's what I mean, you wouldn't. No. And I love Palmer as a player, and I think he plays
Palmer,
with that. Well, this is my team, not yours, mate.
Yeah, stop criticising
me. Mate, do you know what I mean? I can't wait for you to pick your team.
Go on.
Right, so... Or you can go Gordon and Rashford. I just think they're both dangerous, quick.
Rashford was unbelievable the other night.
Yeah, really like him. So it's hard. I'm going Palmer, and then I think I'm going Rashford.
Yeah. Okay,
but I could change my mind tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I like what you do. Obviously,
and Kane up front.
Right, okay, if you could, you're England manager, right? There's a knock on your door. The doctor's knocking on your door 9 o'clock before the first game, right? And he's gone, Gaffer, he's going to tell you one player's ill, they can't play tomorrow. Who's the most important player for England? Because that happens, and you've got to adjust.
Kane.
Okay.
But he's not injured.
I said give him some cowpole, get him live.
Mate, he plays for
running a high fever.
He'll
running a high fever.
Okay, all right, that's interesting. That's interesting.
The people, it's all right team.
Yeah.
Coley.
Yeah, so I saw it the other night, and I'm going. Do you know what? I'm going to go Trent.
Yeah.
At right back. Pickford in goal, obviously.
Yeah.
Trent at right back because I just felt I saw it the other night against Uruguay, and I thought, do you know what I mean? We're missing someone that could flip in, put a ball in on a sixpence for. A striker or a winger, spread play, switch play. The one time we switch play, the one time in the game.
Sorry, what are you your hand up for?
I was maybe Stones, you know.
That's what I was just about to do. Why are you trying to steal mine?
I've got Stones.
See?
What do you mean you didn't say anything?
Well, let me. Why you putting your hand up and
by the way,
protected?
he's only just wrote down Stones.
I was about to say it. You didn't even let me get there.
I'm just saying.
No, it's bang out of order, that.
Bang out of order. I said it before you even said it.
You put 2 left footers in there.
Don't start.
Go on,
So I've gone, all right, Trent, because we needed that guy, but then I want to go Stones.
Right, okay.
Because Stones as well, Bridgie, can play a multitude of positions.
Good word as well.
Yeah, but he's playing centre-back.
No, in this he is, but he can play.
Yeah,
so if you want to change formation, you can go 3.
You can go into midfield.
You can go into midfield.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking.
So Trent, Stones, Gahey.
Right.
And the left side.
He's going to go Hall.
I like Hall, mate.
Yeah, okay.
I like Hall. I think he bombs on. I think he could get into any Premier League team.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he's got a massive future in front of him. So I'm going to go Lewis Hall.
Okay, good.
He's ex-Chelsea as well.
Yeah.
He's a good lad.
Yeah. Another one I've coached.
Yeah.
Only about 3 times.
He's been in the Joe Cole school, Academy.
Listen.
All right. Yeah. So then I'm going to go protected. I'm going to go Rice.
Yeah.
His first name in that midfield.
Yeah.
Now, this is the player that goes next to him is going to be very, very important for England. Because it will give him either license to go forward or license
give license
just
to
to patrol.
To go forward.
Yeah. And I want him to go forward.
Yeah. Right. Okay.
So I'll probably go I know it might be controversial.
Go on.
And because I saw him the other night, and I thought he was brilliant. I'm going to go Ghana.
Wow.
For me, he's going to be coming in there fresh.
Yeah.
Wanting to improve. I heard Tuchel talking about him, saying, well, he's got a few things to learn.
Yeah.
But he looks like a good player. He's going to play with no fear in there.
Right, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
That's a wild card, Coley.
It is a wild card.
Yeah.
And I know that people will probably batter me, but I like Ghana. And everyone's going to go Wharton or Anderson. Or I'm going to go Ghana.
Okay.
Yeah. And then just in front of them, Bellingham. You've got to go Bellingham. Yeah. But I would have, if he's injured, I'm going Eze.
Right, okay.
In that. Then I'm going to go on the right side. I was going to wear my West Ham hat on, put my West Ham hat on and go with Bowen. Right. Just because everyone's talking about all these other players. He's not in form, Cole Palmer, blah. Yeah. Bowen, you know what you're getting. Yeah, he done something the other day. The ball got switched to him.
Yeah, I remember.
Takes it on his chest, bang, straight down, right onto the defender. Defender didn't know what he was doing, didn't know where he was, and whips a ball in. And that's where I want Harry Kane to be finishing his dinner. Do you know what I mean? Straightforward. Not all of this, getting the ball, coaxing it, then cutting outside, cutting inside to condense the space inside when really you want your winger to go down the wing and cross the ball. Like, I'm not old school, I'm not old-fashioned centre forward. And that's what Solanke, that's what Calvert-Lewin was missing. Calvert-Lewin got one cross in. I do remember there was one cross that he received and he missed the header.
Good chance.
Cole Palmer came on. Cole Palmer came on, giving him a good ball. Yeah. So I want to see more of that because it's more direct for me. So I'm going to go Bellet. So I'm going to go. Saying all of that, I picked up my boy.
Yeah.
No, he's not playing.
But he's not playing. He's not playing.
He's going though.
But
he's going.
He's definitely going.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go.
I think it's one of the hardest positions to choose. Actually.
Yeah.
I'm going.
We've got options. We've got
loads of options.
Noni Madueke.
Yeah. Okay.
And I know people are going to say, "Oh, how can you do that?" He's not first choice for Arsenal. Saka is, but I think in this team he will complement Harry Kane really well because Harry Kane likes to drop into midfield. Bellingham likes to push on as well.
Yeah.
Rice will be going there as well. So Noni, there'll be cutbacks. Because he's great at that. He'll get into the line. And I know his final ball ain't great, but I think he'll be good with the cutback.
Right.
Because Tuchel will get the best out of him. And I know Tuchel loves him.
Yeah.
Noni
he does. He's direct, isn't he?
He's direct. And on the other side, I'm going with Rashford.
Right, okay.
I'm going with Rashford because he was outstanding the other night. I just looked at him and he just felt, this is a game that I can impress in. I remember there's one run he done.
I saw it.
And he just took on about 4 players. Who does that?
Yeah.
It reminded, But the only thing with Rashford as well, again, on that side, is the final ball into the box. If they can get those two right, because Harry Kane's going to be coming deep, you need your other players going that way.
Yeah.
So they got to be the 2 strikers that are running behind, because Harry Kane's going to condense the midfield.
Well, that's what he does at Bayern Munich, right? Harry Kane drops in and
then Bellingham will go in there, along with somebody else, on Noni Madueke on the other side or Rashford from the other side. Go and get your tap-ins. Go and get your far post tap-ins. That's what football can be easy if you look at it. If I think Tuchel knows that as well.
Yeah.
That's why he's going to be looking at probably Noni and Rashford. If Saka don't want to go that way, if Anthony Gordon's another one, that can go that way too. So he's going to have options. He's going to have options.
So and the same question I asked Bridget: if the doctor's knocking on your door and says, "Who's the last person you wanted to tell you've got a fever, he can't play in the first game? Who's the most important player for England?" I'm
going with Rice.
Yeah,
I'm going with Rice. I think Rice patrols that midfield. He can go front. He can go forward. He can defend the lead. A confident Rice, that is.
Yeah.
And this back end of the season is going to show how good he actually is, where he's going to be having to defend for his life as well as going forward and scoring, contributing in goals for the Arsenal.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So this will be good pressure for him to take into the tournament.
Good.
What about you, Coley?
Right, my team, I'm going to go with Pickford in goal, Reece James, John Stones, Mark Gurhey.
Yeah.
You have to have experience. the World Cup. John Stones is massively experienced. I would like him to have played more games of football between now. And you always have the element of him because he's breaking down.
But he's fresh.
Right? And he knows what he's doing. And I think just straight away will give us that experience. At left back, I do like Hall, but I'm going to go with O'Reilly.
Ooh.
Same, because, listen, Bridges is a left back. He knows what he's looking at. And I think he gives us that penetration down the left-hand channel.
What do you think of that, O'Reilly at left back?
Well, I like him. Look, it's really on it because he plays in a City team.
And he doesn't even play left back all the time.
I don't... Do people understand how hard it is to go and play in a few teams, to go and play from English?
The contrast is cool.
All the relationships.
Tell me how that was for you when you done that. Like, obviously, when you, right. Yeah, but you was very, very good. But for a player that probably hasn't got that experience and is young, how would they approach?
I just think it's very
contrast-wise from playing club football to that left back position. For
one, he's played a lot of different positions for City. They're always kind of moving around and keeping the ball a lot. Whereas obviously when I was playing at Southampton or at Chelsea, it was very much like
regimented.
Give it to the winger, you know. But obviously then the up and down.
And you had
the ball's just very different now.
Yeah, it's very different.
It plays very different. So
very, very different. Yeah. Declan Rice in the midfield. And I'll do Declan Rice, and I'm going to go with Elliot Anderson next to him.
Yeah.
Because I think the reason I do that is because Declan, I would have Declan as a more deeper than he plays at Arsenal, and there's a big push for him to be playing, but we're so strong in that position.
I don't get that.
No, just let him. I would make Declan. I say to Declan, you are the most crucial player on the pitch. You are an experienced player. You have to marshal that. Elliot Anderson's coming into you as a youngster. Elliot Anderson's got all of the legs. Well. He's got all the legs, right? And I think if England win this World Cup, we're going to have to win it a little bit, and we have to be really good off the ball and protect the back four. So them two will be sitting there. I'll have Bellingham as the 10, but Bellingham, listen, if he ain't performing, I could quite easily change that to an Eze. I'll have Palmer coming in off the right, like he's been doing at Chelsea, releasing him up. So you'll have Palmer coming in off the right with Bellingham, like playing like a 2-10s effectively. Mate, think about the middle of the park. Then you've got Elliot Anderson, Declan Rice, Palmer, and Bellingham. It's got power. It's got ability. It can open goals everywhere. And on the left, I'll start with Anthony Gordon over Rashford. And the reason I'll start with him is because I think he scores goals. He's a warrior, and he's one of them, Bridgie. I think if I'm playing next to him, whatever the game's going to be, he's going to be at it, and he presses really well, and he's got legs that run in behind. So Harry Kane dropping off, I'd allow O'Reilly to push on as well, so you get sort of as much as you can because you've got two holding midfielders. Reece James on the other side to give us width. You know, so it's going to look. I think we can control possession, and I think we'll win the World Cup.
I was just basically.
You sound like every fan.
I was just basically the same.
Every tournament.
Yeah.
We're going to win the Euros.
Mate,
win the World Cup.
Wait till we get there.
You're so fickle.
Wait till we get there.
I was just basically the same, but I think I did choose Rashford. But Gordon, do you reckon Gordon, because of O'Reilly, helps him more in terms of covering him if he's bombing forward and stuff?
You know what it's like playing for England, Bridgie, at tournaments, right? And you would have seen some players who just can't handle the pressure, right?
Yeah.
Gordon ain't one of them. Gordon's like. And this is I'm saying this in the nicest way.
He's Larry.
He's Larry. He's got a bit of swagger about him. He don't care. I like the fact he called out Shearer and Rooney. Was it Shearer and Rooney on Match of the Day? I like that. If I say something that some player don't like, call me out. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he's got a bit about him. He's a Scouse kid. Yeah. I think he'll go to the World Cup and he'll puff his chest out like he's done in the. He turned up in the Champions League for the first time. Got what, 9 goals, 10 goals. Like he don't. Yeah, the occasion will not get to him, and that is crucial as an England.
Do you reckon the manager goes anywhere near those teams we've named?
I think he might be. I think Elliot Anderson plays. I think Elliot Anderson is the one, right? Because in previous regimes, this is another question. In previous regimes, England managers have picked the best players. I think Thomas Tuchel's going. I'm picking what I think the best team, and I think Elliot Anderson might not be the best player. But he could play more at this World Cup than Cole Palmer, than Phil Foden, than Eze. And I don't think he's as talented as a footballer as them, but I think what he does is he brings the balance of the group together. And that's why I picked him. And I think that's probably why you picked him as well.
Yeah.
Well, lads, do you reckon we got any influence over Tuchel's picks?
Well, let's hope he's listening to me and Joe, not you.
Well, we've recorded this on a Monday, so let's see what comes out when the game's on this week. But listen, I really think he'll go my team, you know.
Yeah, do you reckon?
Yeah. If he's got any sense. Oh yeah, that's true. There's no Arsenal player. So what's going on with that? What's happening with the Arsenal lot? All omitting themselves from international duty. Is that allowed?
Let's read it out here. So we've got...
No, we need to address this.
Yeah, we do need to address this. Like, we're going to call this out on the pod here, right?
Yeah.
So Eze, Saka, Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, Zubimendi, Timber, Trossard, Madueke, Hincapié.
That's it. They're out for the season.
Tony Adams, Steve Morrow, Nigel Winterburn. Everyone's injured.
Everyone's out, mate. Everyone's out.
Come on, like, if you're going to do a move, Arteta, don't strong it.
You know the worst thing about it was I feel
mate, just like... You know that's a...
What are we doing it?
But they put more pressure on themselves now. Because I think the league's done, right?
Yeah.
I think the league's done. But if they throw it away after doing that, it looks even worse.
Wow. Mate, it makes me sick, actually.
Their next game for me is Bournemouth, right?
Yeah.
They've upset them a few times, mate.
Yeah. You've said this
I don't think it'll happen, but they've upset them a few times.
They've got Southampton before, haven't they?
They've got Southampton before in the Cup, but in terms of the league, Bournemouth have upset them.
What's the chances of all of them being okay for the Premier League game?
I think we know they're all right, don't we?
Yeah? You reckon?
We know they're all
but
right.
I think maybe they're...
How many of them really injured?
I reckon they all are.
No,
Coley, what are you talking rubbish?
It has to get passed by the medical team.
Do you know what they'll have? He'll have a tight calf.
It'll be a tight calf, back.
A tight hamstring.
There's negotiation. All these negotiating goes. That's a good thing for people listening, you know, in situations like this. We've seen it in our era when play, because you're constantly carrying a knock, right? This is a bigger conversation. You're constantly carrying a knock, and you see an England friendly, and some of them players like Declan knows he's going to the World Cup. Saka knows he's going to the World Cup, right? They're thinking so many important games. So I understand it, right? I understand it from
You've got a little niggle.
You've got a little niggle, like, and then you could, you know, but you could play. You could play, but you're trying to freshen yourselves up. But when it's that many people, Alex Ferguson used to do it.
Yeah, he used to do it.
You know,
stories all the time.
No, what I would say is, I don't think at Chelsea, a manager's ever spoke to any of us. No. I never heard it. Certainly not with me. But I never, even with John and Frank and that, like, you can't play for England. It's like, go with England. It was always like, it's a privilege and it's an honour and a privilege to play for your country.
Where they go, you don't have to play a whole game. Play half a game.
Say that, but Ben White stayed behind in the English squad. Do you think it's because he has to? Because he's trying to work himself back into it?
Ben White's played 5 or 6 games. But that's another conversation.
He needs the games.
That's another conversation. We'll get onto that. But I just want to stick with this now because, right, you know, I just think it's not, you know, if how many people were at Wembley, you know, the other night to watch? You want to see the England team.
That's another question. That's another question I've got for you. Like, all right, so you're a punter. Yeah. You go to the England game. You're taking your daughter, your son, first ever game. Yeah. They want to see the big stars. That team that started the other night, and you paid all right $1 for it. You paid for your tickets. That team that started the other night, are those the players that you've gone to see? No. Or are you going to be a little bit disappointed not seeing the core of the team at least? Yeah. And do you think that game was a missed opportunity to see whether some of those players that are fringe players, you'd say, that started that game, they could have seen, like, some of the boys that have gone home, the core of the team. What do you think that was not a missed opportunity for some of the fringe players to see how they can gel with the core of the team? Do you know what I mean? Because you want to get that rhythm going.
I think. No, I agree with you. I think it was a missed opportunity. I think you're looking at it from Thomas Tuchel's perspective, right? And he's gone, right, I've got these 2 games sandwiched in the most crucial period. Clearly, the Arsenal players and other team players have got other things bigger than these games. The World Cup's it's on the horizon, but it's far away. They've got Champions League, FA Cup.
But what's bigger? getting the team ready for the World Cup because it's coming up, or looking after a football club that's got big games.
Okay, for me. If I'm England manager, that's the last thing on my list. Okay. The relationships with a football club. Yeah. So I'm thinking to myself, if I'm England manager, I'm looking at the numbers of minutes, and I think Thomas Tuchel alluded to this in his press conference. He said, this player's played 3,000 minutes, this player's... So he's like, they don't need to play, but let's get them together. Maybe during that period, you get them together, you can talk about set pieces. You can maybe have a day, this is at the World Cup, we're going to do this type of set piece. You connect with the players, bring them all together. But I'm not massively... Look, these friendlies at this period of time...
risky.
I don't know what the risk reward for the manager playing the starting 11. Maybe I'd have gone, right, for 45 minutes, I'm going to play my starting 11, which I'm thinking about playing against Croatia. And then you go home. I'm going to have a look at a few other players. Maybe that.
That's what I thought would have happened. The first game, just the first game.
Yeah.
And then, but maybe because Uruguay brought out a strong squad. Yeah, but I think they probably thought that we was going to have a strong squad for but then they must have seen the list of who's available. Yeah. But they still brought out a strong squad. Do you know what I mean? So I look at it as that was a missed opportunity for players to get gelled in with the core players.
Yeah. Right, another story coming out of the England game was Ben White coming back into it after pulling out of the England squad in the World Cup.
Oh no, it's crazy.
So he's not played for England for a long time. He's only played 5 or 6, 7 games. He had an interesting night, Bridgie. Scored the goal, conceded the penalty, got booed by England fans.
Even when he scored.
What do you make of Ben White's, first of all, his decision?
Why did he pull out?
Well, from what we understand...
What we understand, do we know?
Not fully.
Not fully.
It's not been addressed.
We don't know.
But that's half the problem, because he's not come out and addressed it. But what we do know the facts is, he went to the World Cup, an incident happened, he felt... Something's happened, and he's left the England squad and not...
So he's left, or there's an agreement that he's left.
No, I think he left.
I don't know. We actually really know. So I find it really hard to make a comment, because obviously what we're doing, reading what someone's wrote in the press, I don't think we actually really know what happened. But I'm like, anyone who gets booed in an England shirt, I just find it really hard to swallow, because I think in different ways. I think a lot of stuff that I've seen players go through, and I think players are strong enough to take it, but everyone has a family, everyone has a mum and dad, everyone's got, and it affects everyone. And when we don't really know the ins and outs of what happened, I just don't. And he's got an England shot in there, and he's playing football.
All right, then I'll flip.
So get behind him.
Okay, all right, that's a fair point. What do you make of it?
I just think the PR could have been a lot better for him, to cover him and to try and half explain to the fans what's happened. He's walked away. It looks like he's walked away from an England.
No, he has walked away from England. Well,
and then on top, so the PR has to be better from England, from the FA.
Yeah,
from the FA and from his camp as well.
A lot of people, I remember a lot of people were a little bit like, oh, so what, he ain't playing anyway?
Yeah, I know, but it's still an opportunity. You're at a World Cup.
I just don't know the ins and outs why actually
exactly, left. So make it, do the PR for it.
I wouldn't walk away. I wouldn't just walk away.
Do the PR for it then.
Away that I wasn't playing. I think that's very difficult to do.
The PR for it.
I think that's very
difficult. You can spin something off. We see lies every day.
Coming to an agreement.
Yeah, but why does it have to be lies? Like there could be first of all,
then you won't get booed.
First of all, it's an honour and
get booed.
I might have Bridgie's stance. Nobody should listen. In a nice, kind, beautiful world, nobody will get booed playing for England, right?
Yeah.
But ultimately, right? It's an honour and a privilege to play for your country. And people,
if you're a patriot,
if you love England, you pay your money to go and watch. These people they work to go and follow England around the world, right? And what they feel from Ben White is that
I get why they feel it.
You get why they feel it, right?
100% get why they feel it.
Listen, I've been booed. We've all been booed by fans, right? It ain't nice, yeah? But I tell you what, the flip side of being a footballer is you wouldn't change it.
I wouldn't leave. I'd stay. And I want to be next. You never know what's going to happen. You never know. Yeah. You never know when you're going to be needed. I would never walk away, right?
From your teammates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just don't really know what's happened.
Yeah, and that's a fair stance.
No one knows.
That's a fair.
It's something really bad would have had to happen.
So why don't he come out and go, this is what was said, and this is why I've come out, and then everyone go, right, fair. If it was about it, everyone would go, fair enough, mate.
But the other flip side to that is people are saying, why should he come out?
Has this stuff ever happened to you? You just don't come out and say this.
Because it's
really matter.
No, because you're playing for your country. This is international. This is your country. This is patriotic. This is supposed to mean everything to you. Not just the people that pay you, your football club, but this is a privilege to go out there and play for your country and be noticed by everyone that I'm at a World Cup and we can go all the way here.
Yeah.
And whether you're playing or not, whether you feel that you want to be part, I don't say the fans are owed an explanation. I just think the PR could have spun it differently. And to protect the player, protect the FA, just spin something. Like, it could be a lie, it could be anything.
No, you can't lie. You can't lie.
Yeah, but whatever it was,
just say, because it's open. Like, we had this conversation the other day. We were talking about Chelsea when it was like Chelsea was spitting a dummy out about the team being like football and communications. The team being for the Paris game being in the papers, right? Every team information gets out, right? Football's a community thing. Particularly England, we all played for England. We cherished it, right? And it's every fan's dream. Like, and ultimately, football is. You have to have that. You have to. If I'm an England fan, which we could have all never played football and been an England fan, right? And imagine you're sitting there and you're paying to watch England, and then one of the players just decides something's happened, and he's leaving the England camp, right? And he's not telling everyone. Yes, he doesn't owe anyone an explanation, but I think he should come out and go, right.
But he hasn't said anything. That's the worst thing as well.
Because he could have gone, if he comes, and I'm all for forgiveness. If he comes out and goes, you know what, I was in my early 20s. I was missing home. I was a bit emotional. It wasn't that bad what was said to me, and I regret it. I'll come back into the fold. So, do you know what I mean? Like,
but you just don't know what's happened.
What was said?
I remember.
And if it was that, and if it was a dreadful thing that was said,
no one knows if it was anything said.
You just don't know what happened. I just don't know. Like, I remember being there, and like you were at a tournament.
Yeah.
And it's like, I remember having an argument with Sammy Lee.
Yeah.
Because it was like you play.
Yeah.
And then everyone who's on the bench doesn't. Next day. Recovery day, getting an ice bath and going walk around the swimming pool. Yeah. But we're a team, we're going to stay together. Mate, I don't want to get an ice bath.
Yeah.
I didn't do anything yesterday. Can't we just go and train?
Yeah.
And I remember having an argument with Sammy Lee.
Yeah.
And the next game, we all went and trained. The ones that didn't play went and trained and got something out of it.
Yeah.
So otherwise, you want to do something.
Yeah, I remember.
But like, you just don't know what's gone on there. But to walk away, I don't agree with walking away, but I just don't. I feel like something must have happened.
Bad.
Something bad must have happened, but you just don't know.
It probably isn't that bad. That's why no one's saying it.
But I'm like, everyone, but he's being booed for just walking away, and I don't. And I don't know if that's what's happened.
The thing about this and all, I think the only person that brings him back into the fold would be a foreign manager. Honestly,
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and that's why Tuchel's there because he doesn't take it that serious. He's like, nah. Because he's not patriotic.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but he's looking at business first.
Yeah.
Because he's got a job to do. But patriotic manager would be like, no, he walked away from England, so he ain't coming back in. So I think he's lucky that Tuchel's come in and is not looking at that part of what has happened.
Yeah, I'm not being militant with it. I get
what you're saying.
Do you know what I mean? If he wants to, but I'm just thinking of it pragmatically. If he's not explained,
he doesn't have to explain Coley. That's what I'm saying. I just said the PR has to be better to protect him so he can come back in. That's all I'm saying.
There's been no if I'm an England fan, so you've already got your back.
So we're set up on conspiracies now.
No.
You can say something.
No, I'm going on factual. Something's happened. He's walked out an England squad, and I'm just saying.
But do you know that for full fact?
Yeah, we know something happened. Yeah.
Yeah, but do you know what's happened? It could be anything. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, I'm not saying. I've heard what I think has happened.
See what I'm saying? It's heard. It's speculation.
Yeah, but
it's not
I'm
fact.
not even putting that aside. The fact that something's happened and he's walked away from England
without an explanation.
And I don't understand why the kid don't just come out and go, this is what's happened. Either I'm sorry or I don't care, but I still want to play for England.
Yeah.
I'd
you'd respect it more. But it is what it is.
I just think, I know how hard it is to play. All right, your son are vying with Ben White for an England place, right? He pips it. It's your only son's chance to go and play for England at the World Cup. And then something happens and he walks out, and then your son's sitting on the beach going, that could have been me.
Yeah, that's why I'm looking at it. That's the way I'm looking at it.
There's so many ways to look at it.
There's so many, and people don't see it that way. A lot of fans, they might not see it that way because they might look at it as like, oh, you're just picking on him because, like, no. Once you sign up to go and play for your country, mate, you could have a death in the family, but you always, because it's your country, and you might say, do you know what? I've got to go because something bad's happened to me. That bad, I've got to leave camp.
Yeah.
And everyone would understand.
Yeah, of course they would.
And it's happened before.
Yes.
But if it's a comment or something that you don't like and you've gone, I'm leaving anyway, that's throwing your toys out the pram. So there's two ways. That's why I say the PR could have been a lot better for it. That's it.
Right, before we go, two managerial on either end of the spectrum come in. Roy Hodgson's gone in at 78 years of age to Bristol City. He's managed them before about 60 years ago, whatever it was.
Fair play to him.
Fair play. But listen, he loves it, mate. If you're 78 and you're getting employed, you do your thing.
I think my missus would say, you don't like me, do you?
Yeah.
Still reading 82, bruv.
Well, mate, some people love it. Some people love it.
You don't like being at home.
I remember I was at Sam's wedding, actually, and I was sat with Cesc and his missus was there. And they were asking what I do and everything. I know I don't really do anything. And Cesc obviously loves football, going into like managerial. And she was like, can't you just be a bit more like him? Spend some time at home.
Be careful what you wish for, love. Right, and another one on the other end, our mate Jermaine Defoe getting his first managerial job. Listen, we ain't got time this week, but I want to get into this subject because this is a player who's played over 50 times for England. He's one of the Premier League's top strikers of all time, and he's coached for a few years. He's got all of his badges, and he's having to go down at Woking, who are 11th in the National League.
What's wrong with
to get an opportunity? No, listen, no.
But I'll say you got to say fair play to him.
I am saying fair play to him, and fair play to Woking for giving him a chance. But what I would say is Woking are very, very lucky to have a man of Jermaine's calibre and stature in the game coming through the door. We wish him well. Give him time, give him a lot of money.
Woking.
Jermaine,
what type of money are we talking about?
I'm only 20 minutes away from Woking, mate, if you need a hand.
There you go. We'll help him. We'll come in. But big up to Jermaine. Yeah. Wish him all the best.
He can come back to yours afterwards.
He might need to. Right. Listen, that's all we got time for. I've enjoyed that. Yeah. Thank you for listening to the Dressing Room Podcast. And what do you have to do, Coley? You ain't got a Scooby, have you?
Don't just put that on me.
Rate, review, like and subscribe.
Yeah, you got it. Rate, review, like and subscribe.
There we go.
Laters.
Laters. Ta-da.
What are the scenarios for an end to this war? Deal, deadlock, or something worse? President Trump has made his stance clear. He's rejected negotiations unless Iran surrenders unconditionally, and he's left open the possibility of U.S. ground troops. His message has been maximum pressure first, any deal comes later. Iran's government has pushed back just as strongly. President Masoud Pezeshkian rejected the idea of unconditional surrender, calling it a dream, and said Iran would not back down. So politically, both sides are talking about very different endgames. So here's what could happen next. First, a negotiated pause. Leaders could agree to stop large-scale fighting without a full surrender on either side. If regional pressure and back-channel diplomacy intensify, a ceasefire deal becomes possible. Not full peace, but a stop to major strikes. Markets have already reacted at times to hopes of diplomacy. Second, a longer drawn-out conflict. Neither side looks ready to step away. Trump has signaled operations could continue for weeks, while Iranian officials say they're prepared for a prolonged confrontation. That points to cycles of strikes and counterstrikes with no decisive ending, a slow grind rather than a quick finish. Third, de-escalation under pressure. Wars sometimes fade when the cost becomes too high. politically, economically, and militarily. If regional stability and global markets take heavier hits, leaders could shift toward limiting the conflict. And last, wider escalation, the riskiest path. More countries or armed groups get pulled in, making the war harder to contain and harder to end. So the short answer is there's no clear finish line right now. The most realistic paths are a negotiated pause, a drawn-out war of attrition, or escalation that complicates any peace effort. And what matters most is simple: what leaders are willing to compromise on and what they consider a win worth stopping for.
Welcome to the metropolis, the big city. This is where tech, trends, and culture meet. Meet the people. See the sights. Walk the city streets. And experience the lifestyle. This is your first-class ticket to the cities of the world. Sydney. Sydney, Australia's largest city, is often dubbed as one of the most beautiful in the world. The place offers an attractive mix of modern architecture, historical landmarks, breathtaking views, relaxing gardens, and more. What are the top spots to see in Sydney? Perhaps Australia's most famous man-made attraction, and a worldwide icon too, is the Sydney Opera House. The structure alone is already a unique feat of architectural design and engineering. While built from innovation, creativity, and quite a bit of controversy, the Sydney Opera House remains a remarkable building that's home to over 1,500 performances a year and inviting up to 1.2 million audiences each time. One of the most well-maintained and well-preserved examples of colonial-style architecture in Australia is Sydney's Government House. Since its construction in 1846, it has been home to 27 governors and today remains one of the city's hidden gems, with interiors characteristic of its Gothic influence. Located nearby is the Royal Botanic Gardens, which offers a bevy of colors that's a sight to see in any season. It is kept alive with birds such as cockatoos and sleeping flying foxes that hang from branches, among many other natural wonders. The Australian National Maritime Museum is known for its sensational displays of the country's maritime heritage. Exhibits on display range from full-size to scale ships, an authentic submarine, and other relics of shipping history. The iconic Queen Victoria building is Sydney's ultimate shopping hub. As the building itself is an architectural marvel that boasts of fine details, craftsmanship, and style, it gives tourists an elegant and high-end shopping experience. Worth the hike is Sydney's Blue Mountains, located in New South Wales. Its blue haze horizon offers a breathtaking view and the perfect escape from the busy city. It's a great way to appreciate the scenery, wildlife, and mountain surroundings. Australia's Bondi Beach is known as the most popular in the country. It's close to the suburbs and easily accessible, which allows tourists and locals alike a spontaneous visit. Its great sand and clean waters are what make the beach a popular hotspot. It's time for us to go. Pack your bags and get your tickets ready. and we'll see you on the next destination. Catch us again next time on Cities of the World.